Markets poised to gap down here today. We have a move up in oil as well. We'll get to that in a second. But as you guys can see, a little bit of a bounce here from these lows, but lots of weakness in the SPY to kick things off. NASDAQ looking very similar. Now let's talk about the aforementioned USO and this oil space. We know we had an uptick in oil near the end of yesterday's session within the last hour as we hear that the Treasury is going to be kind of ending the waiver of those sanctions for Iran, something Iran did not appreciate. Then you get another push up higher as we get some strikes in Iran from the U.S. and retaliation for Iranian strikes. And then also, of course, U.S. President Trump apparently saying at some comments made during NATO that the ceasefire and MOU with Iran is, quote, over. Though apparently those comments were not made again during the proper leadership summit. So just be aware, lots of back and forth as we usually get here with oil with the U.S. and Iran. Lots of tech to talk about here as well. Again, given the overall move in oil, not everything is really moving on these stories, but one name that certainly did move here was Broadcom, this Broadcom-Apple relationship back in focus. Some individual catalysts for some of these oil companies as well, as we were discussing off camera here before the show went live. You've got Apple and Meta with some more antitrust related headlines. SpaceX, second day of being part of the NASDAQ, and they could have a pretty big announcement coming up today, at least according to reports. So lots to get into. Good morning, Sharif. Happy Wednesday. How are you doing?
Likewise, Adara. Thank you very much. Good to go. AVGO, as Adara mentioned, $30 billion Apple deal for domestic chip manufacturing. Keep an eye on that. Apple also in the headlines for its own story, starting to test out CXMT's memory. That is the Chinese supplier that was, let's not say blacklisted, but, the Pentagon can't do business with them. American companies can. So starting testing on that. And then we get SpaceX as well with that tie-up with the Japanese space agency landing, I think, a probe on the moon. Also possibly Grok 4.5 to be released today. So something to look out for there. France regulator putting pressure on Meta, as Adara mentioned, and NVIDIA, guys, trading at pre-AI boom valuations. We're not talking about market cap. Of course, we are talking about price to earnings, trading below that. And then SK Hynix also in focus, and BABA popping up here to the tune of 9%. It was double digits, retracing a little bit here, Adara.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to discuss, guys. And before we send you over to the guys this morning, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping as well. 8:30 a.m., we're supposed to be getting President Trump meeting with the leader of Syria. I don't believe this is supposed to be on camera, but oftentimes these meetings do end up being on camera regardless. I'll definitely cover that for you guys if it is. At 10 a.m., you get wholesale inventories month over month, so no 8:30 a.m. numbers. Then at 11:15 a.m., President Trump holding a press conference. Now, this could usually says 11:15 a.m. could start a little bit later, but just be aware around that time, press conference will be held. Then at 2 p.m., you get the FOMC minutes. So no 8:30 a.m. data, but lots of events to be aware of. Now we're going to send you over to Sean and a very special guest for right now.
I mean, we all know him. We all love him. Randy is in the building right now. Yeah, Neil's stuck in traffic. Neil takes the train, the train.
The GO train.
Maybe it was a little delayed. I don't know. I just got the message that
the stop train.
We'll have a new special host here today for the first little bit. Joe is also in the building, so he's ready to go. So it'll be the three of us here talking some stock early on. Yeah, you saw your own spot there. Mr. Worldwide has the one unbuttoned there, so he's got to get ready to go for the club after this. He's looking sharp as per usual there. So it's Joe, Randy, and I on this pretty tumultuous day, I guess, here. As we finally get the ceasefire ended here, Joe and Randy. And I know, Randy, you're into the oil patch already with XOM, and they're up a little bit today. USO up 3% here. So I don't know.
The chips are down by Micron's like almost 5% pre-market. Yikes. Oil, there's things going on. I mean, they're finding ways to bring production up, with Hormuz being sort of open, kind of open, and then not. There's other ways to bring up production numbers. Rig counts are down. I was telling Adara about this before the market opened, before the show started. There's other ways to bring production up on a quarterly basis, and they're doing it. So, hey, good to them.
Yeah, no, it's been, and then here we get to also the ceasefire, right? I mean, apparently Iran trying to take back that Strait of Hormuz there. Some, tanker issues there yesterday, and then Donald Trump over the night talking about how that ceasefire is now over, and you could see a little spike up. I actually thought we would have spiked a little bit more than this, than just that 3%. But if you saw yesterday, during the, and you weren't here. It's just basically right when you left, about 2 o'clock, oil started to rip, and oil basically had a buy program on it all afternoon until eventually around 3 o'clock it did fade back just a little bit there. But that's USO yesterday ticking out at 106, 107. And even if we look at the CL contract, which is back into August, you're going to see the chart doesn't, this level 1 doesn't load, but right in there, up 5% in change right now on light sweet crude, back up to $74. So, damn it, we have all these ideas because we sit here and you talk about stocks all day. But it was the same thing, man. We were just talking about this just yesterday, and I said oil's gone. I mean, what did I say, Sharif? And I think I don't know if I think I was talking about it with you. I said too far, too fast there with oil yesterday early, and it seems like
a little bit
fell a little too far. Yeah, and that's why I kept on asking Adara, what day did we finally, invade, or what day did that happen with Iran there? And I just felt like we weren't really resolved yet, and there was another move higher there. And then, easy to predict it after it's happened, of course, Randy. But there's your XOM. And you were mentioning a little bit about that one as well. And Neil and I talked about this, and I brought it up to the attention yesterday, and then Neil brought up CVX, of course, but it was right here. It was right at the 200 period moving average. And that, good companies at good spots need to be bought, and that would have been the case there, again, for XOM yesterday. And then, of course, random story of the day, that ceasefire breaking, but that does help. And there it goes right back up to the upside as we watch about some oil names. But then you, of course, Randy, threw a little cold water on everything here, and was talking a little bit about Micron, down another 4% here.
Intel's down this morning too.
Yeah, great look. I mean, this guy, not just a handsome co-host over here.
Oh, come on.
Got some good ideas here. AMD, you're talking about there to the downside, and you mentioned some Micron. What else did you say? You're looking at your market.
Just the cues. I'm just going over BABA and some of the
BABA,
ones.
yeah, BABA. Wow.
BABA, what a 9%.
Yeah, Joe. There. I mean, we can bring Joe back, here on this one. I mean, this is another pre-earnings call for Alibaba, and again, you're only smart if you take the trade. But we did mention that this down by $100 seemed pretty key. But Joe, it went down to $92.
I know.
It already sort of broke those levels. So what are you thinking about Alibaba over here?
I mean, listen. You still have the same narrative of just the China risk, right? You always have that conflict between the States and China. But if you're going to get it at some quality prices, then I think why not take the opportunity, right? If you're aware of all the risks, the overnight gaps up and gap down, the fact that we still haven't really came to a tariff deal, which is surprisingly so. I don't know how many times he was supposed to meet with President Xi, even though I believe he is coming to the White House soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's headed over there. But for me personally, ask yourself, okay, we're looking at Alibaba down here in the 90s. Or would you rather, and this is a genuine question to you, Sean, would you rather buy Alibaba down here or Broadcom down 27% with a downgrade today after just striking a $30 billion deal?
So for me, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think Broadcom is probably a better company and might be positioned better. Well, my only thing is that the I guess too much market weight into these AI names for myself, too much saturation into those names, right? And so, I'm already into that whole realm with Marvell, and we have some of these other chip names. Obviously, we're investors in Intel and AMD, and Alibaba just, to me, presents a different angle. And we talked about the angle that Alibaba presented, and that is that the cost of these tokens and then just creating some of this simple AI magic that we've come to use every single day, stuff that I'm using it for. I mean, Randy, I don't know how you're using AI, but at the end of the day, I'm asking very, very simple things.
Right.
I don't need it to code out the next app that's going to change the world.
But you were saying that Broadcom was maybe the better company, and I don't know, they have more exposure in the AI play, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you already have your exposure in AI,
yes.
I think that Alibaba gives you a cheaper alternative into the production of sort of these LLMs, right? And I just think that once they're built, and then you got to look at costs. And as far as I know, Chinese companies are a little lower cost based.
Yes.
I mean, look at the EV space there, and building out of the data centers in China may be less expensive. The models, might be just as efficient.
So here's something.
What about you, Joe? What would you rather buy?
Oh, I think that goes without saying. I'm okay with not having any China exposure. I don't want to have to deal with any of that stuff. But here, I don't know, this might intrigue you a little bit, Katina, man. So cloud revenue may face pressure. So what this article is just stating here is that Alibaba's cloud revenue may fall by 10% from fiscal 23, but still, right? Like falling by 10% here, or would you rather have an Azure that's still growing at double digits, an Amazon Web Service that's still growing at double digits, a Google Cloud that is just going absolutely parabolic to where the Chinese have their AI build out? And I completely agree on the cost of this token generation. But if these guys aren't performing how we're expecting them to, and the American companies are still growing at a substantial clip rate, I personally don't have any idea why I would be looking at some of these ADRs. That's just me, right? That's me.
I'll tell you why. Remember that Samsung number that came out yesterday?
Absolutely.
And it was monstrous, right?
Big time.
All right, so it's down 15+%. The issue with that is that if you're going to say that Samsung is best of breed, just like you did right there with Azure, just like you did with Google Cloud and AWS, those are all best of breeds. What if they also come out with absolutely monster numbers and then they get hit down 15 or 20%? Then you're going to see this market like what? The fact is that Samsung just absolutely put a target on the head of every single one of these mega cap names, because this is why the market was down yesterday. This is why it's going to be down today. And I think that there's going to be a downward trade into the earnings, because how good do these earnings have to be, guys, in order for these stocks to go higher? I mean, this is the thing. Samsung had a great report. We just had a great report a couple weeks ago. I forget the name that reported 2 weeks ago. Oh, it was Micron. Micron had a killer report. And I mean, look, there was you couldn't even find a problem with that report, basically. And this is Micron, Randy, off of their report. $1,200 down to $900 on killer numbers right there. So if we're going to say, hey, Micron, the leader in DRAM, right? Samsung, the leader in pretty much that whole chip game, they're up 350% year to date or something. Down. So what happens when Google comes through? Down. So for me, Alibaba coming in and saying a little bit of a pre-earnings talk, up 10%. So to me, I think money might be flowing, and I agree with you on the China risk. Like that is that's the number one reason. We talked about this all the time, that we don't love China names because of that exact reason. We don't like sort of the back and forth. I like the fact that she's coming to the Pentagon, or to the White House, hopefully not the Pentagon, to the White House.
Coming for a barbecue.
He's coming to Randy's house for a barbecue. I'm not sure exactly, you have to figure out if he's vegetarian or not. But all the way to the downside, I just wonder if this is beat up enough, guys, that if they put out that great quarter, like they just hinted at, they're up 10%. If Microsoft puts out a great quarter, I fear they're down 10%. So that
Microsoft, a name that it's been hit the heaviest.
They're all. I mean, it's not even, but it's not hit the way this has been hit, guys. No. This is 190 top.
Well, we can figure that out.
Yeah, we can figure. Yeah, I mean, we can call Microsoft right now.
There has to be a ceiling here at some point.
45% from that peak to where we're currently trading at right now.
Yeah, and Microsoft's had a huge move to back up, right? That's 350 back up to 390. So Microsoft's already up that 15-20%. And look, their report's coming in
30%. 30% off of the highs.
Yeah, that's it, right? Alibaba's off 75% from
45,
yeah. So right there. So the difference right there is obviously Microsoft is well ready to get hit to the downside. If you're going to equate the two companies, I don't equate Alibaba and Microsoft.
You would grab Alibaba over Microsoft here at these levels?
What I'm saying is no, because of the Chinese risk. What I'm saying is I don't like it because of the Chinese risk. But I think there's more risk heading into earnings into these big names.
I completely agree with you on the fact. It's like, okay, well, even so, look at the previous, you and I covered it, Sean, the previous NVDA earnings report. Insane numbers. The stock sold off after that.
That's Micron, SNDK.
Yeah, exactly. Sold off, but then eventually ripped up. So, I mean, at some point we can come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe we have gone a little bit too far, too fast, but we still have that earnings growth, which I think is extremely important.
Joe's right. There is an earnings number to come out. There will be profit here, but is it enough? Like, there's a lot of money being spent here. There's a shortage of hardware in places. Like, what's coming back? You know, is there a ceiling here that we haven't seen yet? So I don't know. Microsoft, again, up a little bit, but I mean, there's got to be a top to this. There has to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I was saying. You know, we have to understand that the stocks just don't only go up. And unfortunately, in this environment right now, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. And I think that looking at some of these names, and we've had a nice little rebound in a name like a Palantir, right? As some of the software names get going, Microsoft has been great. A great stock to own for a very long time. And I do think that there's a lot of upside in Microsoft as well. Azure should be.
Neil Team 6.
Azure should be, Neil in the shorts today.
Azure. That's why he was late, man.
Oh, he ran here. I get it. He ran here from Brampton on the low. But yeah, okay. So Joe, here we go.
Yeah.
What is your... Neil will be stepping in for Randy. Doesn't want to leave.
He's done
right now. Randy, you can.
Neil's now the head of construction operations.
Yeah. Randy's supervising everything right now. But okay, Joe,
Sean,
here we go.
Yeah.
Randy, what is your take on SpaceX? And then we'll get Joe's take. Hey, what's up, Neil?
I just wanted Elon to get me a coffee.
You want Neil to get you a coffee? I think that's appropriate. I think that's. I mean, you have to figure out what you take in your coffee over there, my guy. But what? So I know we talk about Tesla all the time. What are you thinking about SpaceX over there, Randy? And then we'll get you out of here.
There's so much to SpaceX, and I don't know. It's baffling to me. The valuation of this company and the plans for this. It's just, I don't know. It's overwhelming to me. Is it overvalued? What do you think?
What do I think?
Is it overvalued?
I think it's extremely overvalued.
Yeah.
But the thing is that value has nothing to do with stock price at the end of the day. This is future value, what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little...
I don't think you're wrong to be skeptical.
I'm a little bearish.
I don't think anybody's wrong to be skeptical about SpaceX. You know, I mean, the market valuation there into the 2 trillion mark, you know, came out with obviously a lot of hype, and it did have a great week, let's call it 2 days there, and then it just came right back in, Randy. And I think a lot of people, and we're going to get Joe's opinion as well.
And what's that saying?
I think there's more. I do believe there's more downside right now, but again, if we were this forward looking with Tesla, and we know that Elon is extremely optimistic with his timelines, I think you have to remain the same with SpaceX, right? Like I was talking about the fact that they're already sending H100s into space. So this is just the beginning of like, hey, we need to get the cost down, obviously, if we're going to be building these data centers all the way up there. But I think it's going to happen, and there's so much more alongside of it. So near term, I think you're going to get a little bit better prices here. I told you I have orders put out at 125, but long term, I'm forever long SpaceX.
125. Wow.
Okay, I'm going to get my own coffee.
Yeah, see you. Yeah, Neil's not getting the coffee, but when you're going to get a second, Randy, I'll take one though. So I was just going to say the same thing about SpaceX, right? I actually pretty proud of SpaceX today that we're not down lower than where we were yesterday at the close. Like, it's a nice bounce back. There was an opportunity to sell this thing overnight for sure. My charts stop at 430. So, but it did make a move back up over that 150. And I'm guessing Blue Ocean probably didn't. I could call that up and have a look at what SpaceX did. But at the end of the day, this hold yesterday of 150 again held. Sure, you get that break. And did we actually hold 150? No. But the fact is that once that broke, it went down $1.50, almost immediately to the downside, and then it recovered. And now we're back above it. So I'm going to call this just yet again sort of another hold, and maybe we say 150 area. I mean, last time we got as low as 146 on the very first dramatic break of 150 right there. And since then, we've broken a couple times and bounced, essentially off of 148. So, those gives me some sort of a pause for concern because we're not huge, but yeah, I don't mind SpaceX at some of these levels. So the reason why I sort of scoffed at that 125, Joe, and is just the fact that I think it's going to be a big wall at 135. And I think
that's fair. I mean, hey, I just put it out there just in case.
No, what I was wondering is, what about? What I was going to ask you is, I like that idea and stay firm with it. But what about getting? Okay, let's just say you have 20% of your SpaceX position now. We're trying to get to 100, right?
Yep.
So what about sitting? What about sitting instead of sitting 50% or whatever at 125? how about the fact that it might come to 135 and then back? I know you're trying to get forever long.
Yeah.
But maybe sit a little bit in front of 135 just in case that is the bottom.
Hey man, listen, I'm open to many things. I think price action is going to be a big time teller of what actually goes on. And we know, Sean, that the market can get a little bit ahead of itself in both directions, right? So whether it be to the long side or to the short side. So, I mean, let's see, because what you were just displaying there on SpaceX from a price action standpoint, and now we get to see earnings report, Q2 coming up, right? I just feel like 125, I don't know how much of a stretch that is. That's what another...
Yeah, no, it's not that far.
Right? Like it's another 17% from where we're trading at right now. So, I mean, if things get really ugly, it's only a gap down away, a couple gap downs away and a bad session. So, 135, there can definitely be that wall. And I know you and Neil were both standing on the point of, hey, this is going to be the issuing price of $135, and it could be potentially a bad look.
I'm standing on business with
you guys are standing on business over there with the bad look. I personally don't think Wall Street cares if they look bad or not if this goes south of 135.
The only thing is that the whole Goldman Sachs's of the world and everybody that brought this to market will be sitting there at 135 for sure, and there's gonna be a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Big, huge walls. Actually, that's gonna be an interesting talk.
Well, we can actually see that, right?
I was just gonna say it's an interesting talk to talk about options.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. We can see that at one point, especially after the earnings. And we can remain forward-looking. After the market opens, we can always keep an eye on that 135 level.
We've been talking for over 20 minutes now, so we'll welcome in Neil. But let's go back. Let Neil get set up. We'll go back to the desk, hear what they have to say, and we'll bring it back over here. 20 minutes. That might be a new record.
That is a record.
You did mention Blue Ocean there, Sean. I want to get into our new segment, which is what was trading on Blue Ocean last night. Now, yesterday we talked about this. So Tuesday morning, about half these names were going to be in that semiconductor space. We saw that drop in the Kospi, specifically the memory space, guys. And again, we're seeing about half memory names here today. Top symbol that was traded last night on Blue Ocean was Micron. This is by notional value. Then you've got SOXL, so it's a 3 times levered semiconductor bull ETF. You've got SanDisk, another memory play in the 3rd slot. In 4th place, you have another name that showed up yesterday. I know the Midday discussed this name yesterday as well. KORU. This is that South Korea bull 3 times ETF. You've got the NASDAQ, then DRAM in 6th place here, MUU. So this is a bull Micron ETF. You've got the leveraged NASDAQ ETF in 8th place. Then you've got SOXS. This is the 3 times bear semiconductor ETF. And another South Korea ETF here. So really seems like the theme of Blue Ocean yesterday, once again, was memory, semiconductors, and South Korea sympathy plays. Again, there were a couple wider NASDAQ plays that were made as well. A couple different stories to get into. I want to mention quickly, I'm seeing here Blue Origin reportedly raising outside capital for the first time ever, seeking $10 billion at a pre-money valuation of $130 billion. Here's Rocket Lab, Amazon. A little bit of a move here, but nothing too crazy. This, I believe, is just kind of a random spike. But let's talk here about Broadcom and Apple. We had this SEC filing implying a partnership between the company had expanded as of Monday. We get a lot more details today from Apple.
We do, Adira. $30 billion multi-year supply agreement, basically taking us to 2031 to secure a massive domestic silicon pipeline. This is being built under Apple's American manufacturing program, and it fuels about a $1.5 billion expansion at the Fort Collins, Colorado Broadcom plant. Now, we all know Broadcom to be, that fabless chip designer, right? They don't have their own fabs. This changes that. They rely heavily on Taiwan Semi, but they will invest $1.5 billion in actual production here. Some of the things they're going to be making: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular connectivity components, but they're also going to develop custom ASICs for all sorts of different divisions for Apple. So good look here. But guys, the agreement specifies 15 billion chips. When you do the math on this, it comes to about $2 a chip. So this is not a high margin product at all for Broadcom. It's really Apple squeezing Broadcom here and using their economies of scale. Not last but not least, this is also sort of an internal admission by Apple that they couldn't get it right, because they have their own division here that actually manufactures wireless RF chips. And the fact that they had to actually go to Broadcom for this means that they couldn't get it right internally. So an admission here by Apple. Last but not least, financial analysts historically hit Broadcom with a bit of a discount valuation. Why? Because 20% of their revenue relies on Apple. So there was that single customer concentration risk that the market had been pricing in. I don't think this helps it, Adair.
Well, as you said, Sharif, I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons here. So I know this is kind of, a loaded question, but if you had to pick one clear winner of this deal, either reputationally or business-wise, Apple or Broadcom?
That's a good question. I don't really have an immediate answer. I'd like to see Broadcom diversify a little bit away from Apple, and I think this doesn't help, as I was just saying, the concentration risk that the market has valued in to Broadcom. I think this is probably a win for Apple, specifically because they're domestic production, and that's obviously a geopolitical kind of tailwind for them, because the Trump administration has made no bones about the fact that they want production in the United States.
Makes a lot of sense. Are you guys watching Apple or Broadcom in relation to this story today?
Yes.
Well, we're always watching Apple, but I actually
we don't really
think
trade Broadcom, do we? Really?
I don't. Actually, no. I think maybe once in the last little while, in the last year or so. That being said, I'll take the whole. Well, if you're gonna call NVIDIA's value right now the best you've ever been able to get in forever, like better than the S&P and all this stuff, you're getting a forward on Broadcom forward P of 19. I mean, that's
pretty good.
That's getting pretty cheap. That's pretty good too. So, I understand you got the whole simple company risk or single company risk, and so much is relying on Apple. But if we believe in Apple and you're getting value here, you're at the 200. It doesn't really look all that bad. I'm going to, in real time, because I haven't actually brought it up, but if you look at Broadcom on a weekly chart, like we're just the daily bouncing the 200. On the weekly, you're bouncing the 50 period on the weekly as well. It's kind of at a value point here. So, yeah, I can get on board with Broadcom. That being said, if we're talking about today, then, well, no one really trades Broadcom. So you start having to think about Apple and the kind of the rocket ship it's been on. Now, yesterday did say, hey, you're getting into that all-time high, and you sometimes will see a little bit of a pullback here. I think the important thing for Apple is whatever dip this is, hang on to 300, that prior resistance, the 50-period moving average, get a nice little bounce there. I think you look good. I don't know that things seem weak enough today. Like, we're not down that much. Yes, it's only down a half point here. I don't know that there's enough weakness to have this C300, but yeah, first look at Apple, like I was going to be looking pull back into these prior highs anyways. So
we want to look. I mean, I like Apple. I'm going to be putting that on the list for sure today, and we'll look at some SpaceX. It's kind of the usual suspects, but I want to add Battle to the list here because it's going to be a battle today for sure. I mean, this is another name here that we talked about this yesterday during the afternoon show, and it was just like this name started to go around 2 o'clock, right when sort of that news hit there about USO and sort of the whole impact of the ceasefire being broken, and now we're going to the upside here, so we got to watch out for Battle past runner obviously, and we're going to have Luis Barbado come on right now and about the small cap recap, so he's going to be talking all about sort of what hopefully about some Battle, and I'm sure Adair and Sharif will go over this name with him. But here's a name that's a $50 million market cap and is definitely traded every time we see oil starting to pop up. So here goes Battle today, up another 22%. Just was chilling around $1.50, $1.60, got the volume, got going, but then it faded. So that's actually an interesting question that I'm going to have at some point. Yo, what's up, Randy? Thanks for the banana there as we look at this name. And I don't know, I think Luis, when he comes on, I think we should ask him because this made a nice run and then we just kept on not making new highs all the way to the downside. So although it got very excited and, probably overbought, it came right back in. So we're going to, okay, good. I just heard from Andre that he has Battle. Luis has Battle loaded up right now, ready to talk about it. But yeah, so I'm just looking right now as we have the high there. We just did not break that past high. So let's wait for some volume to kick into this name right off the open. But who cares really what I have to say? We have Luis coming from the Barcelona office. Shout out to Day Trading and a big one back over to the desk with Adara and Sharif as we talk to our good friend Luis.
We're going to be giving a very big welcome and good morning here to Luis Barbado here with us again on a Wednesday morning over from Day Trading in lovely Barcelona, Spain. Good morning. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you, Laura.
I heard you have Battle already load up here on your screen, BATL. I do want to ask you here more widely as well about these small cap oil plays. I mean, obviously you're watching this one. Are you watching any other of these small cap oil plays? And I guess what insights can you give people in terms of trading these small caps that also have the added, geopolitical volatility?
Yeah, I mean, talking about Battle, first of all, you have to take into account after this run, because of yesterday movement in the oil, you have to wait until it breaks this high. If it breaks this high, you avoid shorts, of course, front side on this one. Second thing to say here, even though it's a small cap, it doesn't have to have the small cap structure, because it's very, very related to the oil. So it has a lot of sympathy for the oil. So it will move pretty much like the oil moves today. Saying that, it had followed the small cap structure, but if you check oil, it followed the same structure. So it's not, that it worked because VWAP, because of the kind of movement of Battle, but it fell because the oil fell. So it is not that much the small cap structure, although it followed the, let's see if it goes there, Battle. Yeah, there it goes. It worked to short against this pre-market high, short there, short again, and short when the VWAP broke. But listen, it just worked because the oil did the same movement, not because Battle moved the same structure as a small cap. I don't know if it's well explained, but I think you understood this.
Yeah, thank you for going over that, because I guess there is that important distinction there. I want to talk about another small cap. This one was on our morning watch list today. This is a penny stock here, around 14 cents. This EDBL, I guess there was an investment in this company disclosed on some filings. Is this the type of name that you have any views on this morning?
Well, some people here in the office will trade this. For me, it's way too low price. I try to avoid anything below 50 cents, 50, 60 cents. If we are going to fit this 50, 60 cents range price, I like it because we can check non-compliance. If it's a bid price requirement from the NASDAQ policies and so on, but this so low price because of we don't have ECN rebates, and because it's so difficult to measure the size and see where you have to stop with all these pennies and tinnies, to trade within the cent price is very, very difficult. So this one is a ticker that we will, at least I will not trade. Today, the easiest trade was a second day play, actually. It was CLRO. Yesterday was very, very active, breaking these highs of previous day, going to 12. It looked like here it was gonna lose the VWAP. But then we saw some spikes of volume and breaking this high of the day, and we saw a very nice movement up, consolidating over the resistance all the time. And today we have a very nice short here around this $14.50 price range. You could short there, waiting the VWAP to break, waiting this $12 to break now. And if it breaks there, look, it can be all day fading until $10, $9, $8. Who knows? This come from 3, I think, a few days ago. Let's see. There you go, from 3. So even though now it looks a little bit low to go in, look, if it breaks here, there is no support anymore. So this was probably the easiest trade today on a second day play.
Yeah, I know the CLRO was mentioned a lot yesterday over during the midday. I have another question. I know you said none of these sub 50 cent names, so this might already be a no, but I know CPOP, this is like what we call a repeat offender, a small cap that's rallied a lot in the past. This was another one that was mentioned a lot yesterday on the midday, a lot by our chat. Did you look at this one at all, or again, because of the price, not something that was on your radar?
No, not at all, because of the price, and also because the price action. Look at this, what happened in June. It went from 30 cents to $3. So it's crazy movement. It was all the way down, but it's very, very difficult to trade this stock when it's so cheap, when it's so tiny float. We could check the float, maybe have it there easier for me, but very low float, probably it tends to 0. But if it start to move up, there is no way you can escape from this short. So for me, it's a no trade here because of the price and the risk of such a tiny float to go to $1, $2, or $3, just like it did in 10th of June.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 27 million share float, but not sure how accurate that is. But either way, yeah, like sub 50 million share float. Do you have any other stocks that you're watching or that are going to be in play for you today as we head into the open?
Oh, yeah, we are checking. We're waiting for this IOTR. It's already pretty much down, but we are waiting this one for a VWAP rejection, what we call a VWAP rejection. The stock went up a lot, it went down, and we are waiting now for a push to 370s to start to short there against this resistance. Right now it has no volume, but there is a chance that we see a pop around, as I say, 365, 375 to start the short there. And the other one is Lucy, LUCY. There you go. It broke yesterday highs, so we're gonna, at least me, I'm gonna avoid the shorts here until it gets to some previous resistance. I think it was $182. There you go. If it gets there to $182, let's see how it reacts, the volume, and where is the VWAP then, and of course the tape reading. It's very important for us as well. So this, since it broke yesterday high, we're gonna avoid the shorts until this 180, 190, and then we probably tried some shorts there against this 2 round number.
And lots of small caps to look at today. Thanks again to Luis Barbado over in Barcelona, Spain at A-Day Trading. You can often find him in our chat as A-Day Trading over on YouTube. And I believe he'll also be with the midday guys at 1 p.m. So people can check that out as well. Thanks again, Luis.
Yeah, we have a lot of soccer to talk about this evening.
Check it out at 1 p.m., guys.
All right, looking forward to some conversations with Luis himself. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the options activity from yesterday's session. But first and foremost, I was trading CLRO alongside Sharif yesterday, so we'll talk and we'll get into more conversations about that. But guys, let's take a look at some of the actions from yesterday's session. Now, we're going to be looking at this $105 strike price on Intel, a name that's actually down 23% off of its previous high. Now, we're only around 3 points away from this 105 level. Now, what are we looking at this for? A support system. Now, we want to find some form of supply, and this was going to be that first strike price where we're going to see a combination between volume and open interest. So open interest sitting around 4,960 and volume around 7,700. Now, as for the bid and the ask, guys, we're only sitting on a $9 spread. Nothing crazy, but just from our delta alone, we can tell that this is an out-of-the-money contract. Now, our gamma exposure is relatively cool, but one thing that we want to keep an eye on always is our implied volatility. Why? Because we'll see that metric priced into the options contracting itself. Now, we're sitting at 104% implied volatility, so what can that tell us? I've always explained using your implied volatility as a sentiment metric, all right? And where you can gauge if we are going to potentially head a little bit lower or if things cool down and we have that nice price appreciation to the northeast. Now, with 104% at the money IV, I would not be surprised if we see a little bit more downside here in Intel. But let's see if this supply zone at that 105 marker can hold up for us. Now, let's head over to the contract itself. This is a put contract, so the more it slides, the more you're going to see the increase within this specific pricing. So what we have here is $1.26 is where we open up on yesterday's session, and then we actually peak at $2.88, giving you a 129% return on that put option from the lows to the highest point. Now, it does give some back, but held up relatively well. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this specific contract slightly increases after the open. Why? Because we did have a little bit of a gap down. Now, moving forward, let's take a name that Sean and I were talking about this morning, Randy as well. Now, this isn't the strike price that I was referring to, and that's going to be the $125 level. It's not the one that Sean and Neil were looking at, $135. But what we have here, guys, is $145. Now, this is going to be that first supply zone. I think it's going to be a massive teller because there was an additional supply zone at 135, but not as big as what we're seeing right here. So open interest sitting around 9,000 contracts there, and volume open and closed 13,800. Now, as for the bid and the ask, again, for a name that is so new to the market, it still baffles me the fact that we're sitting on a $10 spread and it's in the top 5 consistently of complete volume traded within an underlying asset. Now, as for our delta metric, guys, we're sitting on that $32 delta. So what we will see is for every $1 change in the underlying asset to the sell side, you'll see a $32 change within the options contract pricing. Now, as for the gamma exposure, $3, nothing crazy, but you can see the difference between the implied volatility of 83% with SpaceX here compared to what we are looking at with Intel of 104%. 83 for this name isn't crazy, but it's still elevated. So that's something that we want to keep an eye on just in case it does want to accelerate. Now, as for the contract itself, just after the open, guys, you can see that we were trading around $1.13. And then at the peak, after all of that selling, we climbed to a high of $2.86, giving you a 152% return on that specific contract itself, a little bit more than what we were seeing at the 129% on the Intel contract. Those are two supply zones on Intel and SpaceX. Let's see if these levels can hold up or they're absorbed, and we head to that next potential area. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
I mean, interesting call there at the 145. I mean, 145 has basically been the low. I mean, we talked about getting into 146 and change. So, yeah, that's going to be on my radar today for sure. I mean, SpaceX being up that 1.3%. You know, we've seen Oracle. We've seen some of these names that are really relying on, like, future performance and all that kind of stuff getting hit to the downside right there. SpaceX, obviously valued near $2 trillion, I guess, at $150 mark, is not showing signs of profit. We'll wait for those first couple quarters to come through, and then we'll be able to maybe more judge what's going on with SpaceX. And so I don't, like the name. We traded it short there yesterday. We held it against that 150. Eventually it broke. We were able to get out of that. There was a good short opportunity there off the 50-period moving average pretty much all afternoon. Even when we went long, we absorbed into that play there. So for me today, we got to break below, right? We got to get below all these levels. And if we do that, then 150 short, I think, is, again, a play that I'm going to be looking to take. So because the 150 isn't magical anymore.
No.
There. So I don't know what this means.
I think it's more like 47 and 48 of the levels for the breakout at this point.
Yeah. So that's. Yeah. I don't even think 150 is psychologically fine. It's the level that we came out on that day. It was a great trade that day. It went up to 225. We all saw that. 225 now, distant memory. But
I think I know where you're getting.
What is the $2 thing there?
I'm gonna make an assumption because usually like $2 is about what a transit fare.
Oh.
So my guess is you're punking the transit. But you know what? I'm gonna stay. I don't know, David, if that's what the super chat is for, implying that transit failed me today. But you know what? I've been commuting downtown. I actually can't think of a single time I had this long delay in the morning.
No.
I was late. In the evening, there's been a couple of times.
It's been pretty good.
Where it's been bad, but I've never been more than 15 or 20 minutes late coming into the city. It is what it is, and they got us on the bus, and I got here on time, and the TTC was
the train
free.
didn't go at all.
Oh, well, okay, so it eventually started moving by the time I was already on.
Yeah, so you got on a bus.
If I stayed on it, I would have gotten here the same time at best. So.
All right, so I guess that's what that $2 is.
Hey, man, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna. There's some people that are just like cussing people out. It's like, let it go. Trains will be delayed. Buses, ish happens, and you got to be able to live with it. The ish that's gonna happen potentially today or tomorrow is SpaceX breaking these lows. Mm. So whether we're talking about specifically, we can get rid of that super chat so we can see the chart. I don't have it up, so let me see if I can get to the right page and then clear it. Just so you guys can get a quick look. Like yesterday, you barely held like 148.5. So 148, I think, is key. 147 would be that actual like all-time low break. Then we get to Joe's 145, where there'd probably be some room down in there. But look, the stair step to the downside makes a little bit of sense here, whether it's a value. If you're concerned about valuation, and we're concerned about an AI top, where this is more about XAI in a lot of ways than it necessarily is. It necessarily is about just the one business they have, and whether you can have the demand to keep them pushing buyers out in front of it is the best way. I don't know. Like I don't want to say pushing people in front of the train track if things falls over, because that's not a cool analogy. But can we keep pushing buyers out in front of this to hold it at this crazy valuation? So far, yes. So far, the addition of the S&P. So far, 150. But at some point, you run out of those early dip buyers. and you start to make that real bottom. Another super chat from Adam. Egypt robbed versus Argentina. And then the symbols you're looking at, LHAI, ONFO, NCRA, some small cappers there for Adam James. I didn't really get a chance to watch the match, but from what I've heard, I guess it wasn't.
No, I think it's just honestly, this is what happens in sports, right? I mean, honestly, the VAR has been a little bit of a problem, I think, this whole time. But hey, you know, what happened was Egypt got this amazing goal, but they looked at it, and about a minute before, the Egypt guy pulled down the Argentina guy's jersey. And it's like, we see that all the time. But it's just, it got reviewed, and they basically took the goal back. It's like in hockey, you score a goal, but then it's offside, and they review it, and they pull it. So unfortunately, that was the case. But I even think, I mean, all of us, look, it's day one after, so there's going to be still some thoughts about it. But at the end of the day, that's what sports is all about. And you know, we see it in every sport, right? In football, there's a call that happens, and you know, maybe shouldn't have. In baseball, whatever, it's all the same thing. Baseball trying to fix that with their own VAR. What do they call it again? The
ABS system.
ABS system, yeah. So I think that's kind of cool.
It's got one major problem.
What, you run out of the
the umpire has the discretion to be like, nah, I'm not going to let you check. Because you didn't do it fast.
Oh, that part.
There was one time the call was brutal. No, but the umpire made a late call. So the ump was late calling the ball as a strike. And then after the ump finally made the call a second later, the guy goes right away and he's like, nah, he doesn't allow it.
It should be like 1 or 2 seconds after the umpire makes the call. Yeah, that's that part for sure. But anyways, so that's what it is. So thanks for the super chats. Bitcoin down to 62,000 and trying to go a little lower right now as well. Yeah. I thought this market would be a lot lower today, honestly, than NASDAQ. The fact is that only Bitcoin right now going lower, and it looks like the NASDAQ now off 200 points higher from where we were at the lows. Our low was almost 28.9. You're at now 29.2. So you're almost up 300 points now on the NASDAQ, battling right back. I mean, whoosh to the downside there, and there it goes right here. NASDAQ battling back here this morning. I've got USO written down. I've got Battle. I've got SpaceX. We're going to find a few more names as well. But yeah, I'm excited to watch the World Cup moving forward, but I do understand that there are some feels about it right now. So yeah, thanks to Luis for coming through, man. Battle pulling back into $2. I know this is going to be a name that we talk about a lot today, 17 million shares, and oil dancing around as well. So let's get back over the desk. It's 8:46. And hey, what do you guys want to talk about? Oh yeah, by the way, Adara, I know you asked Sharif this question, but I want to ask it to you. What do you think, Apple or Broadcom here moving forward? Where would you rather put your $100? Let's just say if you're trying to invest now at a depressed price with Broadcom or Apple near all-time highs?
It's a really tough one because I think it's hard to not look at the other factors here, right? So especially with Apple, we have a new CEO coming in who doesn't necessarily have, the great relationship with a lot of these different foreign leaders, including the president of the US and in China that we know CEO Tim Cook has. And we've even heard reports that internally this is a concern, which is why they're trying to get Tim Cook to make all these deals before he leaves in a couple months. So for me, I'm going to be thinking about it that way with Apple. Broadcom, I've noticed a lot, you'll get these positive catalysts, it'll spike, and then it'll go back down. So I think Broadcom is relatively flat. I think if you're giving me like a 6-month period, for that reason alone, I think Broadcom can kind of stay steady for that period. So I'll put my money in Broadcom just because I think with Apple, there are some other factors that we're not 100% sure of. So that's what I'm going to say. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, and I'm going to continue to think more about this. I may have more to say about this during the news segment on the midday or even beyond that. But that's my thoughts for now. But meanwhile, we're going to talk about a name that a lot of us have a lot of thoughts about, and that's META. A couple catalysts from this one yesterday, which I'll mention in a bit. But I think the biggest thing this morning, French antitrust concerns. So more European countries going after these Mag 7 names.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, Adara. Back to the negotiating table here is what Meta is being forced by the competition, the French Competition Authority, to do. This is basically it's the idea really of paying for news content, but also the threat of labeling them, of abusing their dominance in the online space. So here's the deal, guys. This kind of, when you read some of the main articles, it just covers it more as, hey, go back to the negotiating table, but it misses a lot of the underlying aspects here. What is that exactly? Well, they're being asked to give up their algorithms, their traffic click-through rates, and their monetization data, which the Competition Authority says their media needs in order to be able to value their own content. Meta has now 15 days to give all those aforementioned pieces of data to their negotiating counterparts. But there's been no fine issued, and that was strategically done here by the Competition Authority because they don't want to put a cap on how much these negotiations are worth. They want to leave it open so as to give their media negotiators the strongest bargaining position. If there is no value to this, Meta can't discount it in their accounting. But to be quite honest with you, a lot of this is being framed entirely as a copyright fight over traditional social feeds, but it's a lot more to do with that. The Competition Authority is really worried about Meta taking all these data points, the stories that their media outlets are putting on there, and then training like MuseSpark or Llama or whatever on it without paying the requisite licensing fees, okay? So it's not just about the republishing of content, but more about the future of LLM. And I saw your infographic yesterday. It was really good, very interesting. But I noticed that you prefaced it sort of by saying, Joseph and I, we often talk about how the European companies are sort of heavily regulated by the American regulator. Yeah. That wasn't really the point that I think Joseph and I were trying to make. I think we were saying it was disproportionate regulation between the European regulators on American companies and American regulators on European companies. I completely get that the states are going to regulate their own companies. That's their job, right? So and by the way, very interesting infographic yesterday from Madeira. It's on the X account if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I think, like I said too, and I think I tried to make that point yesterday as well. It's not an apples for apples comparison, but I think when we talk about regulation, I think it is also, of course, worth noting that it kind of happens from everybody, by everybody, towards everybody, which is, I think, part of the point I was trying to make there. You also mentioned Muse Spark there briefly. Yesterday, Meta got this spike here, guys. You can see Spark to the upside. Muse image now live. So something worth noting, again, not live everywhere, live on certain platforms. This is the first image generation platform available from the new Meta Intelligence Lab. And I guess apparently Muse video to come.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to unpack here for Meta, and one that we should consider is, okay, well, you can spin it in some ways that the concern over all of the data that they do have and the ability to train models on that is going to be such a power, it's almost too powerful. Well, it's a positive when you're saying it's too powerful, but that also might be like the second or third inning. And the next wave is going to be when you're training AI on literally physical input, visual, audio, which is that next line. If they're able to set the table here, where it seems as if they're coming down a little bit harsh on them, but it sets them up nicely for when their wearables are what's collecting all of the data, that could end up being a positive. A lot of times, let's just call it like it is. If you look between big tech and you look at the regulators and politicians, and who do you think has a better grasp on what things will look like in the next 10 or 15 years? So as they're crafting these regulations, they're crafting an agreement, can they make it seem like a win for the regulators now, but 5-10 years down the line, it's like, look how pretty this ended up for us. I like Meta's chances in that regard, because that's how history usually proves it. I like Alphabet's chance in that regard. For today, I would be looking at, we're about 610 or so. If you can really see that 50 period hanging around there just underneath the 600 level, I think that's where you need to be holding on the dip. Kind of right into the morning lows and then go back into like that Monday close level at 600. Prove Meta that you can hold higher lows when we get, because yesterday we got a positive story. So, can we continue and hold some higher lows? But in the long run, I don't know that this ends up being super bad, because there's always a way in which they can craft this so the next big thing, they're still able basically to have their monopoly and control. That's effectively what big cap tech does. And I expect them to be able to find ways to win regardless.
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking about trimming some of the Meta. If there was one sort of Mag 7 that I don't really believe in the long term, unfortunately, I wonder if the whole social media thing, might be like the new tobacco kind of thing. And I heard Kramer mention that yesterday, and so it's not my take. It's just with all the not the lawsuits. I mean, there's really, I don't know about if there's any lawsuits, but just looking into social media and possible bans. We've already seen Australia take a stance there. Canada's banning, I think it's under 14 or something like that. They're trying to do some 16, is it? Yeah, they're trying to do a few things with that as well. And I just, look, I mean, tobacco companies, and that's probably a little bit of a hard example, but I think it works. They still make money, and they have, investable ideas to them as well. And it's just, I wonder about, if Meta does falter, which we've seen, and maybe they threw, it's a sandbox quarter, and all this spend is eventually, as Neil mentioned, I mean, we got a good spike up there, Muse Spark, we got a good talk there about the cloud computing and selling off some of that compute power. So I do think that there is avenues for them to get going. I am a little worried about the social media talk here, and I don't want to get rid of Meta, but I think, lightening into half of what I have now, if it's 5% of my portfolio down to 2 maybe, would be a decent idea, and then throw it into the NASDAQ, because if Meta works, then the NASDAQ will most likely work as well. And then I don't have to have as much exposure to a space that I'm not as excited about anymore. And that's social media. Now, I used to say, like, every time there's someone born, there's a brand new Instagram account created. And I still do believe in that. It's just, I wonder about the regulators here for Meta. And it might just, and that's part of the reason why it's down. So, you don't get stocks moving to the downside on great news. So sometimes you do have to weather the storm. So I do believe that a long-term Meta will probably be great. It's just, for right now, I feel like there's a lot of pressure under it, and we just wait. I think it's 14 days or so. Because I Googled, I was looking at a few names before. Was it Meta that said 14 days from now? Earnings coming pretty quickly for Meta. I keep forgetting where I'm supposed to find. Oh, is it under news? Oh, market events. Yeah, there it is, earnings. So here it goes, right here, confirmed for, there it is, July 29th. So we are, a few days away now, a couple weeks away to their next earnings report, their Q2 period. So we'll see what winds up happening there. But, look at, everything is, pretty good here. Everything's green, going up. They've just beat, and they've done really well. It's that CapEx spend that you don't see in these numbers there that's been worrisome for Meta. And it looks like with Muse Spark there, they're able to do something a little different than the rest. And I like that sort of audio look there as well. So there's a few things going for Meta, that's for sure. It's just, I'm not in love with it. I could wrap my head around NVIDIA a little bit more, and some of those other names too. And this is only a 19 PE as well, forward. So it's, Meta's there when you talk about cheap and everything, but they're all pretty good stocks. And I just want to light up a little bit on Meta. Let's wait to see if it gets to 640. Hopefully it does, and we can dump out a little bit of that name. All right, hey, I say this all about Meta, and you watch, it's going to be on the market upgrade side probably here. So let's go back over to Joe and figure out how wrong I am about Meta.
It will not be on the market upgrade, Sean, but that's all right, brother. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the NS actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off with some downgrades. Alcoa at the top of the list. We're down 1% here, going from an overweight to an equal weight, and a $53 price target. That's down from 75. Now we have Lemonade also on the list, guys, down 5 1/5, going from an overweight to an equal weight as well, but with a $75 price target by Morgan Stanley. Then we have Bath and Body Works. I didn't think this ticker was still alive, but here it is, down 4.4% with a neutral to a sell downgrade from Goldman Sachs and a $19 price target. That's down from $23. Now Broadcom, despite signing a deal with Apple, down about 1/3% here, guys, going from a buy to a hold, but still down over 25% off the all-time highs. Broadcom with the downgrade here, no specific target there, guys. Now, as for some more positive things, CrowdStrike at the top of the list. We're negative here this morning, 1 3/4, and a $230 price target. That is up from $195 post-split. Now, Occidental here Randy liking this one, 2.9% to the top side, going from an inline to an outperform here, guys, with a $65 price target. That is up from $58. Evercore ISI giving them the nod. And then we have Dollar Tree up 1.4%, going from a market to an outperform here by Raymond James. No specific target there, guys. And Robinhood getting the nod with a price target increase from $94. That's up to $137. We are down 3% here this morning. Jefferies giving them that price target increase. Let's send it back to the boys.
Thanks, Joe. Well, I like the move Robinhood's been on, but got to throw this up here because if you just saw a small spike in the U.S., so I'm not saying it did anything crazy just now, but a little spike. Trump says he may strike Iran again tonight. Also, that the focus is on nuclear weapons rather than regime change, which is something we, of course, have heard before. So slight spike up in what has been a pullback this morning in oil. You see USO 2.5%, kind of back up to VWAP. It's still channeled down after the big gap up overnight, but a little bit of a rise. The NASDAQ also found its way to curling at 29.2. So we go right into support from yesterday, and then this is when we get the president speaking, so you get a little bit of a curl, it looks like, happening on oil, both oil and what's going on here with the NASDAQ and the ES. But if we're just back into the upgrades and downgrades, Robinhood, it's been on a good tear. Yesterday, it started out pretty hot, eventually did catch a nice bit into VWAP, so there were a couple of chances to go longs, but that was more getting away with the long yesterday a couple of times as opposed to it being a strong stock. It's down another 3 points despite the upgrade that you have. But what I still like about this is there's been rotational strength in financials in a general sense. You know, and it's been holding an uptrend since that 80 bottom. Like, let it make the bottom, holding the 80, been holding the uptrend. That's kind of setting it up for a retest of the 200 period and $100 today. I don't know, I didn't put it down on the note because 109, do we really getting down to $100? I kind of feel like that would be unrealistic today. But I think there's at least a bit of a look here at the pre-market low at 107. If that gets lost, then I think you start looking for the better levels. But yeah, still like that Robinhood. Watch out when the president's speaking, you know, it can move oil futures, and I guess we're back to paying attention to those.
Yeah, I have USO. The sticky note is now out as well. I have USO at 109, just sort of looking at yesterday's close. And we were trying to come into that, and we bounced off the 200 period. So 111 or so looking pretty good right now for U.S. oil as it continues to make a new high right there. And then yesterday's talk, I mean, we talked about it yesterday a little bit, and it just happened to pop today. But there goes XOM off of its 200 period moving averages as well. And then I wrote down Battle. The Battle was just like, I only wrote down 175 yesterday's closing price, but now we're above VWAP, and I actually made a point on the sticky note as well that if we're going to be under VWAP, that is a little bit of a concern, but it just took it pretty easily right there from $2 back up to 225. So actually looking at a break right now of 235 on BATL as this is getting ready to get opened up here, less than a half hour until we rock and roll with BATL. So this is the oil name for me today. So if you guys are looking at that, I'll be on USO and BATL and hopefully put on a couple of trades there, and we'll see if it breaks that pre-market high right now of 235, starting at 7 a.m. I don't know, may have been higher before then. But let's go back over to the desk now and see what's up with Adara and Sharif as we go through our rundown.
747 2/3, guys, is where we closed out yesterday on the SPY. We're below that right now. So a couple of things here let's talk about. We are putting in lower highs here on the 4-hour chart. That is very, very clear. We're holding this downtrend line with yesterday's failed break above 750. The most notable about that, we got to about 752.5, and then we ended up closing well below 750. We're below 745 right now, which was yesterday's support level. So that level will be today's resistance level. And then we're looking at 740 Adara as support level 1.
Right now, we're looking at our free Trader TV Live watch list. This has information on earnings, events to keep an eye on, stocks that made big moves in the after hours, at the pre-market, any economic data releases. You can find all of that information. Use that link right there. You can also find this in the description of the video, wherever you're watching, so you can get that free information every day. U.S. President Trump currently speaking, guys, I'm listening. He's with Zelensky of Ukraine, president of Ukraine, and he just made some more comments here, as we know, about possibly hitting Iran again tonight, but there's a lot of different U.S. angles to take today as oil gets a bit of a bounce, Sharif?
Yeah, Dara, he said he hit them hard yesterday. He might hit them again tonight. Let's talk about what happened over here. So apparently there were ships transiting through the part of the Strait of Hormuz that's more close to Oman. And that displeased the Iranians. So they hit some of those ships there because they want them transiting through their own shipping lane because they collect fees from the ships who come through there. So it seemed like as if there was some tensions there. In any event, President Trump yesterday making comments when he was at NATO about possibly, discussing with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner where the negotiations stand. So we'll have to see exactly what happens there. From a technical perspective, Adira, what I was reading was $80 is where the majority of the short positions are accumulated. So we need to keep a very close eye on the $80 level on Brent crude. Not talking about WTI, I'm talking about Brent. The $80 level there, apparently the buy up this morning has been short covering. There has been no new money apparently flowing in yet, at least. So we'll have to wait and see. A lot can change, Adira.
Yeah, we also had some other individual oil stocks on watch with Catalyst Occidental getting an upgrade this morning. And XOM with some, there we go, let's pull up this chart here. I guess they raised their earnings guidance for what they're expecting for this quarter. So a lot of preliminary earnings stuff here. But keep an eye specifically XOM, OXY, and Olive Oil. Are you guys trying to play this?
Oil?
Not.
Oh, I was gonna say olive oil. Okay.
I heard look,
I mean,
we don't said olive oil.
All kinds of lubricant over here. Yeah, get some olive oil in there.
Why not, man? I mean, that's what. Hey.
I'm down.
Olive oil's
right?
fantastic.
Virgin olive oil, whatever you want to use over here.
But look, if you're not paying attention to oil again, then I don't know what you're looking at today. There's obviously tech's going to be in play, and we'll talk about SpaceX is in there and memory chips, and hey, Alibaba's finally making a massive move here. But in the afternoon, yesterday, you came into this high in USO at about 110, and that was like the only little drop, and it didn't drop that much. So there was enough strength. You got like one good candle out of that pullback, and not much before it was able to catch a bit of a bid. So that 110 does sort of set up like support to resistance. Now with threats of any headline, anytime, or another attack, another escalation, I think you gotta be at least a little bit concerned. So I'd be looking for bounces off of that 110 area. I think the other way to look at this is to understand that when we've had these moves in oil, the effect on the dollar, and then down the line in metals has been a lot of weakness. What I like specifically to maybe transition this to not only looking longs in USO, but also looking short in silver specifically is, well, it was kind of weak anyways. Like this was like it was already topping out before we had that big oil spike and was already trending down yesterday. And then we had just another flush out here. And when I see that, I just think, okay, retest of the local bottom at about 51 for silver as well. So I want to be looking short till 51. Obviously, I like short back at a prior high, which is 54. But if you can't get into there, if it's a simple, wait for your opportunity to pop and fade, that might not be there. If oil just continues to go higher, it might end up just being a flat bottom break. But I'm just looking short silver today and willing to take multiple swings at it. So I think there's room for SLV specifically to get to 51. I know people get mad. They're like, yeah, it's not silver. That's the ETF. SLV is what we'll trade to execute for silver.
Yeah, exactly. And it's close enough to silver, so whatever. Yeah, just like when we talk about oil, we always look at USO. But okay, so right into here for me, it's going to be all about BATL and, of course, Battalion. This is what it looks like here in the pre-market. So I wanted just to bring it up that we did get up to 250, 260 right there earlier today, 5 a.m. or so. I'm just looking actually at this break right here. That's 230 now. So now that I sort of zoom back out and I see, that we have had some sort of, I don't know, bunching up around this 250, 255 area. I wonder if that may be some kind of a top here temporarily early until we get maybe another story that runs this. And like Luis said, this will move obviously with oil. So if oil's moving to the downside, we may want to stay away from BATL. But hey, look, man, at the end of the day, I like this little level right there breaking 230. All of this garbage See you later. Breakthrough VWAP, get going now above 230. And I mean, Trump, we've gotten the updates. I mean, Neil and I have it in our ear as well. Like, he's not talking very positively right now about anything here, talking like they may not have a deal. You know, it's all about nuclear. We just had that up there. It's not about the regime change because they can, you know, they've wiped out some of the leaders there, right? And so now it's about, hey, can we get a deal with the nuclear side of it? And I don't know how well that's going to be holding out for. So I'm looking at a 230 break here, see if oil can get going again today. And then I wrote down on the note USO 109 because it was coming back in when we had written that note, and I just wanted to see what was going on with yesterday's close. But that just, I think that's out of the window right now. So we got to look at this 200 period moving average that we just bounced off clean. And look, I don't know if that's a thing or not, because the 200 period doesn't really begin until you have 200 periods. That starts at 7, so now you're into 9. So that's, if you're at a minute each one, it's only 120 minutes so far. So we'll have to just let this flatten out a little bit. But it just did bounce off 110.50. So here we go. There we go. Yeah. So just right on topic there. I'm not sure if we're going to have a deal. So it's going to be tough to look at oil right now. We're going to keep our ear to the ground with the news. And then I like the long, man. I don't think it's up enough. 2.68%, I don't think is up enough. So we'll have to wait to see if oil does agree with that and start to go a little higher here right off the open. Hey, let the traders trade. And we said this yesterday. I said this for the last couple of weeks. I thought oil has gone a little too far, a little too fast there. We came right back into a very nice level. And now it looks like we're trying to bounce off of there. I think ultimately people were waiting for this 95 to 100 on USO. Doesn't look like we get there. We get pretty close to 103, and there's the bump higher. I think we can get back to 130 on USO in the upcoming weeks. So still excited about it. I think it's going to be a good trade. Let's go talk about SpaceX.
Some AI models in focus here for SPCX. Grok 4.5 release on Watch the Information, also reporting that SpaceX could be releasing its first model jointly developed with Cursor pretty soon.
Exactly. That's why we're getting Grok 4.5. Elon Musk calling it an Opus class LLM, but faster and less complicated. We'll have to see if that's accurate in real life. But a lot of this has to do with Cursor and their attempt to pick it up for about $60 billion. They are currently, of course, in the process of acquiring it. That has a lot to do with it. This is a coding program. But let's be honest about this. Grok hasn't looked good lately at all, actually. Fresh mobile telemetry data from Apptopia reveals that the number of daily average users for the Grok app in the United States has plunged by 28% over the last few months. And now its market share is about 8.7% of all the LLM users in the United States. Now, with respect to this Japan iSpace headline, this is very interesting. They obviously had many crash-landed attempts to put their lunar, I guess it's a lunar taxi, they're calling it, on the surface of the moon. They failed at that, so they're going to use Starship, apparently, here as a commoditized macro bus. They're going to retain control, though, of the lunar lander, lunar taxi, whatever that is. So it's a $50 million deal there, so you don't feel it's like not a needle mover here for SpaceX.
Do you guys think that SpaceX is ready for liftoff today?
Well, I want to look. I'm actually staying a bit negative on it here, and I get it. You want to be happy about the launch. You want to be you want to be bullish on this in the long term. And if you look far enough out, there's a difference between, okay, this is a stock I want to own. I believe in the story. I think when we look back 10 years from now, we'll be happy that we're in SpaceX. That's very different from the day trade. It was the same thing when I was having a conversation with some of the viewers. And shout out to all our viewers on, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on YouTube, want to shout you guys out. Westy Bestie over there on TikTok, appreciate your comments. And one of the things when we're talking about silver and oil just now, remember there's a difference between day trade sentiment and what you think, like maybe longer term, medium to longer term. We'll always try to make that distinction. So hopefully we'll make that clear. And throw more questions in the chat or comments if you're confused. Most of the time we're going to be talking specifically about day trade. So in that vein, SpaceX is still downward trending, right? Like it's arrows up on Randy, always is. I didn't realize we got the bananas. I guess I wasn't paying attention. And a reload in coffee. So we got that as well. But until the trend shows something else, I'm just going to favor this to the south side. So it's been downward trending. Like, it's just teasing that we want to break down the low. 147 would be a break, and then you'd see fresh all-time lows. Obviously, it's a recent IPO, so that's not really saying much, but that's the price. Then you get the 145, which is a big options level, and then 135, which is the issue price, would be some area targets on that breakdown. Until you start breaking out, big resistance levels like 153 to 54, like this gap in here, from there to the prior high, maybe even like 155. Unless you're breaking out above that, that still gives like a short pop area to want to fade. If you're holding bids over 155 outside of the opening range, yeah, then I think you've got yourself another 150 bounce. But until then, I'm still looking for that little gap area short the pop and the flat bottom break on SpaceX. Maybe it does happen today. We'll see.
Look, I don't know if we have had a day where I haven't traded SpaceX, and I think today it has to be back on here again. I'm only actually looking short. I'm going to go short 150 on that break, and just to try it, use VWAP, use something as our top side out there. And then I was saying 148 potentially coming through on that as well. So we just wrote down, watch the 150 break, watching 148, and then we talked about 145. Joe mentioned that options market, so I'll look at 145 if that comes into play. And that might not hit today. So, so far here in the pre-market, it's really been doing absolutely nothing. I mean, back and forth between 150.50 and 150.150. So just back and forth, back and forth. So I'm just looking at that. Look, these dark pools never happen, these wicks to the bottom here of 150. But if we do break that, I think it's just worth a shot. Like yesterday, we finally broke it, and we saw what happened, man. It was a straight shot down to 148.50. So I would think that could happen today, and I think it could happen early. So I'm going to be sitting here. I feel like this will be my first trade. And the best part about this is look at where we can get out, man. It's like 150.50, 150.60, up to 151. Like all the lines are aligning right now for support and resistance levels to hit. So yeah, we're starting to fade off the 50-period moving average. Let's see if we wind up taking VWAP. I'm a short today on SpaceX. It's just let's play the momentum. You can clearly see what's been happening here. Looks like we are getting ready for that flat bottom break. And yeah, man, I mean, with this market, potentially, I think we're going to fall. I'm surprised we battled this back up 300 points from the lows. That seems to be a little bit much considering what oil's been doing and the talk of Micron and SK Hynix coming on Friday and all this. And we're going to get to this next. But I like SpaceX to the short, and I've been trading it and doing pretty decent on it. So I'm going to look for that as my number one stock to look at here today, SpaceX and USO.
Let's take a look here at some of these memory plays. Nice bounce here off below for the likes of Micron. SanDisk looking pretty similar here, but these names got hit really hard for most of the day yesterday, and again, mostly gapping down today after that Samsung Electronics preliminary report on Tuesday.
Absolutely, but let's not forget we have SK Hynix coming to market, North American markets, of course, this week, and Wall Street is piling in. At least initially here, because major advisory desks are actually predicting the U.S. ADRs. I reported yesterday it was going to be ADSs. Today, I'm reading it's ADRs, so we'll find out exactly what's going on there. But these U.S. ADRs will trade at a high premium relative to the sole common shares that are trading on the KOSPI. So there could be an ARB there to take advantage of. But we've also reported that it's been multiple times oversubscribed, but this is heavily distorted. Let me explain why. Because global book building for cross-border ADRs doesn't actually require upfront capital or placement of margin lockups, these algorithmic hedge funds are just basically piling in 2 and 3 times the amount of shares that they actually want in reality, because they don't want to get boxed out and they don't actually have to throw up any of that money ahead of time. So they're taking advantage of that. So keep in mind, these oversubscription claims could be a little bit distorted. And then last but not least, Adara, they actually wanted to bring it to North American markets because they didn't like the difference in valuation between what Micron was trading at and what SK Hynix is trading at, because Micron's trading at about 9.44 times forward earnings. But you've got now Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan that are pricing it likely to come to market and stay at about 7.42 times forward price to earnings. So if that was the stated goal at least these two big banks don't feel that they're going to get achieved. So we'll have to wait and see shortly. I think Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday's what I'm seeing. Are you guys watching these memory names today, though, ahead of that SK Hynix release?
They're trying. Everyone wants capital, and this is a big way for them to get a bunch of capital. So it'll be fun and exciting to trade it. The ARB aspect will be interesting. I don't wonder if it trades at a premium come Friday, whether or not there's going to be a good opportunity on day one to look for some shorts. It's not like a traditional IPO, of course. So, that whole notion of how we trade on Friday will be a little bit different from what you might see like when SpaceX came out. For DRAM, look, you got a bounce yesterday. Nice looking bottoming tail candle off the 50 period moving average. That was over like it to try to hold that 50 period. It did, but that's not yesterday anymore. Your bounce went right to an obvious area at 61.25 here on DRAM. And then that was it, like no moss. Pre-market highs, afternoon highs as well, and then we lose that 50. So that support, the theoretical support bounce, kind of lost. What you would like to see, because after Samsung, you want to give everything the 3-day rule here. What you'd like to see is it make a bottom after this, kind of like that post-earnings low, hold it for a couple of days, and then possibly resume. You're making a fresh low here this morning, so it still feels like we're going to be weak. The market is doing a decent job of battling back, but if you compare where the Nasdaq is relative to the close yesterday, obviously DRAM is going to be a little bit weaker. So you could be breaking or attempting to break out the highs in the Qs and still falling underneath resistance on DRAM. It's not at the top of the list because I just happen to like the continuation on Intel a little bit better, but it's a very similar look in this chip name, just much weaker overall than a lot of the other chip names in yesterday's trade, and kind of a clear 112 level. So I'll probably be looking to try to fade this one a little bit better today. But yeah, give it the 3-day rule. Still think this SK Hynix has turned into a bit of a sell event for the memory names.
Yeah, I think similar to what we saw with Rocket Lab and all that kind of names coming in from SpaceX. It's funny because we started talking about chip names, and I automatically wanted to go to BABA, and I see it's the very next story. So I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I do want to just welcome everybody from TikTok, everybody from YouTube, everybody that's here every day from Twitch, so on and so forth. We have a consolidated feed, so I have no idea what this means, but shout out to my Alia here on TikTok. Thank you so much for being on there, and thank you to everybody for joining us no matter where you are. And hey, look, if you are a fan of TikTok versus YouTube, something like that, just go over there and give us a little shout out on TikTok. And we love to respond to any super chats. We'll call them up. Doesn't matter which platform you give those on. We want to be able to attend all of our viewers. So shout out to everybody on TikTok, because that's been picking up some steam lately as well. So, thank you for watching us wherever you are. Exactly. Share the stream. That's the most important, because we want to get more. I mean, we see so many great ideas in the chat all the time. You got to be a subscriber to be in the chat. So get into there. We're watching it out. What's up? There's Trinity from TikTok in there mentioning a few emojis there as well. So good morning to you as well, Trinity, and everybody that is here with us. Trinity, isn't that a girl named from Trailer Park Boys?
Well, I'm thinking The Matrix.
And The Matrix, yeah, Trailer Park Boys. I think that's one of the guy's daughters is Trinity, I believe. Yeah. Anyways,
shout out to Eats Meets West Bestie as well.
Yeah. Eats Meets West. Yeah, what's going on with that? Shout out to everybody there on TikTok and watching us worldwide. We got Mr. Worldwide coming at 11 o'clock as well, so get ready for that one. All right, memory, we just talked about it. Let's go talk about Alibaba, the one that maybe we should have bought at $100.
Beast mode.
Pitbull's coming to the studio? No, all jokes aside, we'll take a look here at Alibaba, BABA. Talked a lot over the last couple days about preliminary earnings in focus, and that's more or less the catalyst we have today for a massive gap up for Alibaba.
Yeah, it's up, was up 12.5% in Hong Kong. That's the best day it's had since last September. Up, high single digits, low double digits in North America on the NYSE. But as Adira mentioned, this is primarily driven by pre-earnings optimism. They apparently narrowed their losses for their competitive instant commerce business, and apparently there's steady overall profitability in other divisions as well, especially for the June quarter. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's also capital rotation out, especially for Asian traders who may be taking profits from their their, let's just say, SK Hynix. Samsung trades on the Kospi, rotating in some beat-up names, possibly on the Hong Kong exchange or the Hang Seng. So looking for that as well. But sentiment was also further boosted when we got reports that DeepSeek and some other Chinese firms are apparently developing their own proprietary AI chips. And that's been a key bottleneck here for some of these Chinese AI companies, unable to get their hands consistently anyway on these advanced chips.
Another comment I want to mention here, not from President Trump, but from Iran, just before we send it back to the guys here to talk Alibaba. Iran saying they will deliver, quote, an immediate response. So it sounds like this, not really a ceasefire will continue as the countries continue to fire at one another. Alibaba, guys.
Well, it's over now. That's the story.
Yeah,
so
that's it. It's done.
It's it. Is it over to get the bottom on Alibaba? It might be. I'd like to hope it's not, because I was really thinking we'd get the 80s in there. That's just an old level where for a very long time, 3 years of consolidation, holding about $80 on Alibaba. And on the weekly here, you can see how bad it was. Now you're forming a bottom 2 weeks in a row, holding the lows in that 90, starting to look awfully good. It's gapped this one's gapped a little far for me today, if we're being real. It's like, if you're gapped that high, show me that you can break the high for continuation. You're already up 10%. Sometimes, and I've said this before, if you like it around a certain price, you don't have to. It doesn't have to get to 82 or 84 or something if you like it for a DCA. Sometimes you see it consolidate in the 90s, and that should just be good enough. So probably should have just picked this one up underneath $100 if I like that 80 level, and I'll be kind of mad at myself for having not done so. But I don't want to chase. I'm not chasing Alibaba today. I like it. I think if you're looking at, wanting a little bit better, it's not the right word. Wanting different exposure. Better is not the right word. Different exposure to the space, and maybe the rotation into some cheap Chinese tech relative to U.S. stocks. And you can look at KWeb as well, up 4%. And it's got a chance to break the 50 period, break this downward trend that it's been in. I do prefer Alibaba personally.
Yeah, we talked about Alibaba. We really like that name, and I was talking about it for a couple of different reasons there, about how, just a little bit of a cheaper production, maybe potentially, as Neil was mentioning there. Maybe we didn't need to wait for that ultimate low, but hey, that's what the market's all about. And I agree. I don't think we need to go in there and buy it today. That is Alibaba. So I'm in. First trade here of the day for myself will be in battle. We talked about it breaking through 230 was a level that we wanted. It does do that. We get along 230 exactly. So that might be a good level I would hope for. And we'll see what winds up happening right now on BATL. We're in. And we're just trying to give it up. I will take something out. I'll take out 5% or whatever at 240, and then we'll see if it wants to moon. We did see that level of 250 potentially being in question there last night, so over this morning. So we'll see about a 250 level, and then I'm going to average this in around here at 215 if it does drop down, and then watch out for a $2 break if we can get out of this name. I think it's well worth 30 cents, and by that time, it will be. We'll be long at, if I get 230 and 215, we'll be long at 222, and we'll see how that goes. But there it is right now. We're long on BATL. We said we would be. It's right here. Go find the note, the sticky note. Battle long. So far, so good. We could take it out, but we're going to let this one run into the open. Maybe we get a halt here today. As I said, it's not like this oil talk is getting any less. If anything, it seems like it's just heating up. So right now, here goes Battle Man. We'll see if we can take 10 cents, and it looks like we should be able to. I'm on ARCA right now. If that hits, we'll have that one, and there it is. Yeah, so there we go. That's a nice little trade there. So we take the 10 cents early on BATL, and we'll hold, and we'll see where it goes from here. It's battle. It's upside. We're in it. It's Trader TV Live. It's 9:27. Broadcom and Apple. Let's go find out about it.
Before we jump up there quickly, there was a nice super chat here I wanted to get to, but no message, so you can't pop it up on the screen the usual way. Trading with Jesse with the 50 super chat.
Wow.
The phone didn't let you type the message for the super chat. That's okay. You can still get the shout out. Trading with Jesse W. Get the money, hopefully, into Broadcom or Apple with a deal.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here at AVGO. This is the second most mentioned name in our chat, so you guys definitely want to hear about this one. We mentioned it earlier. We'll mention it here again today. Broadcom, Apple tie-up. First kind of hinted at this SEC filing earlier this week, now confirmed by Apple themselves.
Yes, actually, Tim Cook just about 45 minutes ago or so, taking to X, confirming the deal, $30 billion to 2031 for this deal. It's going to include a $1.5 billion expansion of Broadcom's Colorado facility, and it will, for the first time ever, cause Broadcom to actually manufacture their own chips. So you're not going to be outsourcing this to Taiwan Semi, so we needn't worry about supply constraints from Taiwan Semi here. But this is also built under Apple's American manufacturing program, so we really can't understate the geopolitics at play here, especially with President Trump's tariffs and the relief he gave for Apple at the beginning of his administration. 15 billion chips expected to be produced under this deal with an average price of $2, meaning that it's going to be a low margin product for Broadcom. So while revenue increasing, perhaps margin increasing will not be the case. Also long feared is Apple's failure at developing these specific chips internally, and that's exactly what happened here. It's an admission of failure by Apple, hence why they're outsourcing. Specifically, we're talking about RF and FBAR chips. Last but not least, Adara, we talked about this at the beginning, 20% of Broadcom's annual revenue is commanded by Apple. As a result, they've always traded at a bit of a discount because of that single supplier risk. I don't think that helps it.
Good luck to all at the opening bell. Trump still talking Iran as we send you back over to Sean and Neil.
Dwayne, thank you very much. With less than 30 seconds to go, there were some pops on the imbalances there. Imbalances basically pair off right away. Apple with a bit of a pop, up a couple of dollars
SpaceX
here.
is running.
SpaceX, there was a small imbalance. It's now paired off, but that's all the way up to 153. So getting into that void, 53 to 55. With about 10 seconds to go till the open. Hey, it's brought to you by VinFast. That's ticker VFS. Scan the QR code in front of you. We want to thank them for sponsoring the opening bell. As we're getting a bit of a pop. The president's still speaking, so crude oil with a new fresh pop just now. As usual,
oil won't really care too much about the market opening.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, because it's already traded.
Yeah. So here we go, man. Battle right now, just up to 240 again off the open. It does make a move back into 233. So we do want to say a shout out to everybody. Thank you to everybody on TikTok. More super chats coming through. East meets West. A lot of people super chatting us over there. So we want to say thank you to that. Thank you to Peter as well for those super chats that I'm seeing going through. Okay, man, there it is, man. 240, 242. Here we go on Battle. Nice move to the upside right there. We're long. We're going to wait. I do have an offer at 250. We'll see if that winds up coming through on BATL, and obviously hoping for a little bit of a halt before we get anything going there on BATL. But that's first and foremost on that stock, and we'll just wait. SPACX, SPCX right here. Let's go see if we can call up SpaceX. There it is, 152 and change right now. Nice high of 153 for SpaceX. I still have that short in there, right? So there's that pop sort of, I think that you were talking about, maybe a pop up there. Looks like, yeah, on the imbalances, yeah. So looks like it is fading that pop. So here it comes back in. We're still gonna, I'm still gonna go short 150 break. Was on the list. We'll see if we can do that. I'm only crossing down 25 cents. So I feel like the liquidity should be okay. Hey, if I miss the punch, fine. But that's what I'm going to do right now. 150 break short on SpaceX if that does get going as well. Shout out to Stockyard Trades as well there on TikTok.
Yeah, shout out to Stockyard Trades. Well, hopefully there's lots of trading opportunities out here for you, but the market is coming back to the upside.
Market be ripping.
The second they can that he concluded, or the president concluded his comments, it looks like there was an initial move down. USO still holding VWAP, so you're still getting a little bit of strength off of that, but you're getting a nice bounce in some of the chip names here. At least I'm looking short. At least I'm looking at Intel giving a chip bounce. DRAM almost went green here, so almost had like 1%, and they're trying to get to the upside to get into green. That is going to mean, let's be patient if this is happening. There's Intel trying to go into that resistance that we want for a bit of a fade. So we're still in the opening candle on a 3-minute, and it's not even breaking the highs yet.
Yeah, that's SpaceX. Sorry, I was into this. I'm just hitting it because we're in this new position. I'm going to short the futures there. I still think pretty red today. The NASDAQ just did have a nice little bump up there, as Neil mentioned. Some of the names starting to come back. And this one could be wrong, needless to say, but we're going to be in it right now. We're short right here at 52, so we're in this position. We're going to wait to see if the NASDAQ continues this sort of jaunt higher. I cannot believe we've made everything back right now on the NASDAQ. I mean, when I woke up today, it was down almost 2%, 1.5%, something like that, and I was like, oh boy, here we go again. But no, not today. NASDAQ says not now, not on my watch. As there it goes higher and higher is the NQs. So we'll stay in it. We just took another piece there. We'll see what winds up happening here with the TQQs. Right now bouncing in and around 71.50. Let's see if we can hold a short here on the NASDAQ. And it was a decent take up there. Now we'll see what's happening with a short on the TQQs. Put another bid here around low 40s, see if we get that. Battle though, came right into our spot. So now I got to put that stop. If we break 199, honestly, let's just get out of it. You know, we're well aware that these names will do things like this. And again, we did want to look at USO to see if that was doing anything, and it's not doing anything. So, you know, that was the whole, there we go, let's go. Right there on the TQs and see what winds up happening here. Maybe a loss in battle coming through, but we're long right now at 221. We'll see if that wants to hold. So far, so good on the NASDAQ shorts.
Yeah, the futures are really starting to come back in. Intel just broke LOD. It did our typical topping tail candle. Where is that buyer coming from? Hello, 108. Intel. Someone's stepping up at $108 like an absolute champion. I didn't see I wasn't able to see the size on level 2, but if I'm just glancing at it, there was maybe somebody fat fingered and just threw like, you know, okay, 50, 60,000 shares on the bid. But 108, I'll look for a target to try to get out there if we can. But USO's holding the bid really well. This doesn't make any sense. I wrote down on my note 190 on battle. USO is holding. Yeah, it's holding VWAP. As long as this holds VWAP, I gotta be thinking bullish. And the reason why I said 190 on BATL just has to do with the prior day high flip. There we go. Has to do with the prior day high. So it's like this is selling off pretty precipitously given the fact that oil is holding up nicely. So Intel, I'll look for that 108 because there's that buyer going to be in there for sure. And then back into SpaceX, it's really not. Yeah, we're still inside range. The bigger move happened on the imbalances. It's now trading inside of the range. So unless it gets back up to 153 for a fade, not seeing anything just yet. There's no low breaks on SpaceX. Hasn't really taken out that high to get into 153 to 155 range at all. But USO, very quiet. Yeah, I think you were expecting fireworks on USO this morning. You're getting a nothing burger out of this right now.
No, we have to hit the fail, but again, we didn't even have one unit on this. But there goes battle to the downside. We lose 30 cents or 20 cents on that name, 20 cents on battle. I mean, that's completely fine. We did not put out any, like I have more shares in the TQs than we do in battle, but yeah, not a good name there as it breaks through $2 and there's your 190. So we'll see what winds up happening here. But hey man, the bread is being buttered over here again as we go back to the futures, but this is not stopping. It's not going lower. I mean, it's stopping at the 71.40 area. So I just keep on taking some profit down here. And I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do because I do want to hold this in for a little bit. But look at that move, just up right now. As you can see, this name now starting to go back up to the upside, as you had mentioned. Maybe some names like DRAM catching some bids there off of a nice Intel move earlier. And we can check out NVIDIA. We did get, wow, look at DRAM, holy, straight upside. That, I mean, if anything, that might be a short. Broadcom with good stories today as well. The deal with Apple, so there they go up 3%, trying to go higher. Broadcom good, must mean Marvell bad, I would think. But that's going higher as well as the rebound is back right now in some of these tech names. Rebound up 1%, not even, down 10% yesterday. But there it is, man. Another one. We'll take some more money bags right here. Yes, go, go, go. This is what we're waiting for, man. We want these futures to finally come back in. So it looks like we could have a good trade. Here, I still have pretty much the majority of this trade, probably 70% of it. Let's see if we can get low. Let's take a look at 71 and change. That may not hit, but I'm going to put a bid down there near 71 and see if we can grab some of that one. And keep those posts coming in the chat, man. We're always trying to look at them. Just a little busy
let us know
right now with some of those. Yeah,
I just saw Jonathan in the chat say pop and drop. That's what it's at least looking like right now. Got into SLV. I'm favoring that to the south side here today, and it doesn't seem like it wanted to break that high when the futures went, so we popped in on the lower high to try to be able to grab it. Still seeing that dude here, and here we go back into that 108, and once again, it goes right into 108, and then the buyers immediately just start to step up. So I might scalp out of this. They're buying it pretty heavily off this 08 level, so this might turn into a scalp trade. See if we can't get that quick buck on Intel and maybe move on, because this is actually yesterday's support level where you're catching a bid almost cleanly on that bad boy. The other thing that is happening is USO is still holding very well. I mean, it's going very sideways. So anyways, just rang the register on Intel.
Ring it.
It held that 108 level, at least for now. But USO is actually bouncing off of VWAP, and there's that pullback into prior high. So I'm looking for that entry into battle. Get a wick bottom and try to play a little bit of a rebound play. I didn't see the actual halt bands on this at any point, which is a bit weird given that candle.
Oh, good. Good thing we got out of that.
Well, it's 159 is telling me the halt bands are down there, that's wild. We're moved that far.
Maybe they're not right because it's Amex, right? So, but I don't know. That shouldn't be really a factor there. But we're almost at our daily goal here with the TQQs. So downside, we just got a 125 fill there, 71.25. So it looks like we might get that again. I'm at 71.16s, which is that low, and then we'll see if we can drop down a little bit more as we go back to the futures. Good super chat right here for JP Morgan. So we do want to say thank you for all of that. Is it a long or a short today? Yeah, I mean. That's a good question. I don't, little vague, but I would just say right now, it's a short. There, how about that? I mean, it's down 1.4%. I always try to look to see what the initial, look is on a stock. And if they wanted it, and I keep saying they, but if the market wanted this name up, it would be up right now. 4 straight up days for JP Morgan heading into earnings next week. I like the stock. I like it better down here at 325, but right into here, all-time highs for JP Morgan, potentially due for a pullback if the NASDAQ goes. Like remember, JP Morgan, J&J, some of these other names, yeah, get that money going. Some of those other names will react differently, opposite to what happens when the NASDAQ goes higher, right? So if the money's coming back into the NASDAQ, which it is, it's back to highs right now, then JP Morgan probably does fall down with other bank names as well. So I would just say, just be very, very careful to what's been happening there in the tech space. But I like JP Morgan on any dip buys. I think the banks are going to be good. And I think there's a good opportunity to get a few more shares in the whole portfolio before the report next week. But there's BABA right now, 106. Coming into play there for Alibaba. Looks like a decent bounce level potentially. That's the low for Alibaba. It did get as high as 108. We're going to wait to see what happens there at 106. Okay, so we got to get out of this right now because there goes the futures. So we'll take some money early, and it looks like we'll give it back right now on the TQQs. So we go from, making our goal to holding out, and there it goes back up through $72. Let's use maybe this most recent wick as something there, but I guess I know you're out of Intel, but I mean, this whole market seems to be
everything's bouncing. Well, right Intel's now. Right back to entry, and it did it really fast off of some of those lows. So, I want to see it hold some lower highs. If it starts doing that, jumping in early, great. If you get that first initial flush, no worries. But look at what's happening with the NASDAQ in this strength. The way that I see this going up, I want to see it at least slow down, maybe get into 7, on the Qs here, I should say, 710. Like at least push another $1 into some resistance and then look for a reload on Intel. Already into that short on SLV off the lower high. If it breaks out the pre-market top, that's an easy out. But that's actually holding the bottoms a bit. What you have to concern yourself with is, oil's reversed. The president ended his comments this morning, and you're now down through VWAP here on USO. So we were going back and looking to test some overnight resistance. That's all changed. We could be pressing back into the lows. Remember, it's that prior high, 110. That's where I want to look for a reversal on USO. I believe we are going to the desk. Adara's got an update for us.
A little bit of a spike here in MSFT, though it's already given it back. Could be related to this report from Axios, suggesting that the U.S. President Trump and his administration have lifted restrictions on OpenAI's GPT 5.6. Now, a couple caveats here. We know that OpenAI and Microsoft have had a previous relationship. We know Microsoft invested heavily in OpenAI, though I was hearing reports even as recently as yesterday suggesting that Microsoft has actually taken some of its AI changes. Now they're favoring their own AI over Anthropic or OpenAI, so maybe nothing massive here. We also already heard reports that this could be happening, but either way here, watch the market, watch Microsoft. Trump administration reportedly lifting restrictions on the GPT 5.6 model from OpenAI.
Thanks, Adara, for that news. And yeah, we talked about that. I mean, Joe and I went, I don't think you were here for the Microsoft. We were just talking about Microsoft and Alibaba and all that. So, yeah, nice little lever to be pulled there on Microsoft. I mean, if there is an OpenAI story to come, either they do wind up IPOing this year, potentially into next year as well. Joe mentioned, actually, here we go, man. We did reload, and it was just it's not even the reload thing almost means like you were out at one point, but we averaged in. Upside. We're going to use 72.20, that top wick, as our out right now. So we're back into a little bit of positivity now with the TQs. Well, we're not now, but we just took some profits down there at 75. But yeah, we took a 90 for a loss and then a 75 just to mix it up a little bit. Let's see if the market does wind up pulling back through one more time. And Adair, I just wanted to find out, because Joe mentioned to me a couple of days ago, maybe you know too, Neil, but OpenAI not looking like this year, or?
Oh, we were talking about them before I left.
Yeah.
It's just speculation, right?
Okay.
Like, we're already hearing reports going back a couple weeks, you know, as Joe said, that we could not be getting it this year. I mean, it's not, they could still be doing it. We know they've already announced that they have confidentially filed, but even they said when they did announce the confidential filing that they're not putting any date on this. This could happen, it could not happen, it could also never happen. So they're being very non-committal. We know the poly-market odds of them going public this year have dropped, and we know reports are suggesting that maybe happens in 2027, if at all.
Yeah, and you have to remember, like, you know, there is the best, making sure you get the facts right. But I'm going to play a little bit devil's advocate. This is a sentiment thing. If we end up with this is the real pullback, OpenAI is not going to want any part of going public into that. So, you know, there's a lot that the market's going to be able to tell us. We'll care about more of the next round of earnings to let us know how that's going to go for them. And nowadays, you don't need to necessarily go public to get all the capital you want. It's just have access to it for so long. But that's not a good sign overall for where the AI trade's at, even though it's bouncing today. But back to trade for a quick little second. USO still heading down, so not really seeing that turn just yet. Was able to get some out under VWAP here for SLV. Did reload it in front of the lower high here, just above that 53 spot. So we're looking for this to continue the push down if it can. And that's obviously right now a big if. But the story this morning, well, and overnight and this morning, was about the strength in oil. It's not really there yet. So yes, battle is at that price. It's at the prior high, but you have to be watching what's going on in oil. If oil's not going to bounce and not going to be trending up, not going to be holding VWAP, I don't want to just punch long because it's at a price. I want there to be some strength in oil to try to get battle to go. So obviously not looking very good. And for those that have been asking, I see you on TikTok, it's like, why is this stock up? And why is that stock going crazy? And we got Bomb Tom Bad is asking about Pang. Okay. We've had viewers ask about things like Iran. There's a lot that is running this morning, taking the market higher. I think an easy way to think about it, if you got beat down yesterday, you're flying today. For the most part.
Pretty much.
Iran is flying. You show G. Vernova's absolutely flying. I could pull up DRAM again, but we'll just go, whoops. See, now I start typing the CDRs instead because Micron has a CDR now. Well, it's up, the CDR, but that's not what you want to see. You want to see Micron at $950 and up 1.5%. So you're getting a lot of strength come back to the market, especially if you were badly beaten up. It doesn't mean there's a story. I think we're just getting a bit of a relief rally. Keep in mind, oil's still up 2% and could still bounce off the lows. I might get another chance to reload this here on SLV, but I think waiting until it presses into the high, it's putting in a higher low. If I see a higher low, then the reload, if the stop is at the top, needs to be off the highs. So a little bit more patience here. It's still holding out, weaker than SLV, so I do still like the notion for now. That can change in a heartbeat. And one name we didn't really get to, and it was on the upgrade list, there will be no dip buy in Robinhood today, apparently, for me, because I just don't see any dip that's happening. It's absolutely screaming to the upside. Have to reevaluate this one maybe a little bit at 10 o'clock or so, see where it's at, maybe a bounce into VWAP or something.
Yeah, I mean, the market wants high. I mean, the market is now green. So there we go, man. I mean, we're out. We tried to short. I mean, it's not short. I mean, it's not a huge damage or anything like that. We're doing damage control. But, we tried to go short. We were able to clean it out there. We did take another fill rate into that level as well. But there goes SpaceX. Finally starting to break back down below. I was really I don't know. I don't really like getting, look, that was an automatic trigger there. So it's 3/4 of a unit. It's not a huge position. I told you I was crossing down 25 cents. That's exactly the fill that we got. And I don't really like a name that drops like this and then we punch that bottom short. So we're going to have to give this one a little, as if. Look at the TQs, man. That's really too bad. I'll try one more time there because we just got taken out at the highs there for the TQQs. That kind of sucks. But, you know, what are we going to do? We called that play. Damn it. We'll go back into the short now on the TQs and see if that wants to work, and try not to get too blown out of all of these positions. But darn it, that's too bad. We just got stopped out of that NASDAQ short. All right, yeah, bruh. All right, like we said before, we wanted to use some of these levels if it was going to come into play. So right there, 150, 150 probably. That's VWAP. That's your 200. That's your 25 period. And then right there is the 50 period. So yeah, 150, 150 looks like that'll be our out for SpaceX. So now we have an idea of what we're trying to look for on the downside, which makes sense to me because we were talking about 148 maybe as a look there for SpaceX.
Yeah, because the flat bottom, it's actually 148.50 or so is the overnight low. So I know I said 148. That's kind of rounding it out. We've got the Hindu piranhas.
Hindu times.
So SOXL and DRAM went to enter for 3 or more months long-term investment. Wait for entire July and enter in August or any particular range. It's an interesting question because to enter for 3 or more months long-term investment, 3 or 4 months isn't a long-term investment. I'm a little bit confused by that. I think if you're looking long-term, usually I'm thinking DCA as opposed to a specific time. I think you've got to at least
Screw you.
That entire space, you have got to wait to see what happens with SK Hynix and how the market reacts to that coming to market on Friday, and then giving it a couple of sessions. Because that's a lot like SpaceX and the space stocks and the overall space, and what it did to it creating a temporary top. So I think you're waiting that out for sure. Because I've been bearish, I'm kind of bearish on them until we see SK Hynix on Friday and how that's received. And then even then, 1 or 2 days doesn't mean jack. SK Hynix could go ham on Friday, and that doesn't mean anything because on Thursday, then next week it could be back down. So I think you're at least waiting until that at a bare minimum, because I still think we're a bit bearish.
We were called the SpaceX Whisperer. I think that's a very good compliment. I don't think it's true at all, but there it is. It's $1 right there on SpaceX as it goes to the downside, and we start to clean that up just a little bit. I wish we were better on the. I mean, we're fine on the futures, you know, but like we just got stopped out of a bigger position, right, literally at the highs of the day. And then it faded out, and now it's right back into these levels. So we're going to take about a little bit of profit here, as you know, we weren't necessarily right with that call early. We do take advantage of this move down into the 25 period moving average. So that's so just to put my stop at 30, man, we wouldn't have had to take that L, and then we would have been able to, you know, really have a profitable trade back in there. But we do give up. Our average price was about 72.05 or so, I think, when this finally broke. And so we do take about a 25-cent hit or so. And now we're back into it, just back into 25 cents now, as here it goes, getting much, much better on that call now, as the TQs now starting to really bleed a little here to the downside. Let's put a bid at 48 and see if we get that. And then we'll wait again for a little lower, that 71.30s. We'll put a bid there. Maybe we get that, maybe we don't. We'll just wait for it. But yeah, the SpaceX, good call. You mentioned 148.50. That's where we got out. So we got out at 148.65 there. I still have more than half. No, it didn't break. It held. So we got 148.65s there on the comeback here now for SpaceX. So we still have we only got out at 30%. So we still have a decent chunk here of SPCX. And that was just a break low. Now let's wait to see. We still have our stop where it is, right? 150, 150. So that'll be a good little level there. Reload around 150.75, but I actually don't even have the stop in because that happened so fast. 151.51 is going to be my automatic stop. So we'll just do that. We'll get a few more shares short if it gives it to us up here around 150.50, 150.50, yeah, something like that on the short. But yeah, so far, not really that good here to start with. The market kind of pretty choppy near the high side of the day. I'm surprised it went back to zeros, to be honest with you. But yeah, again, shout out, man.
Although we turned right at that point.
Yeah.
Almost exactly at green on the NASDAQ is going to be the local high. So that is something to watch out for. I still feel like we're pulling back in. The ES is a little bit... The ES pulled back a little further than the NASDAQ, but if you're bearish on something, like if SpaceX is looking weak, silver still looks weak to me. We didn't get a chance to really talk too much about crypto.
All right.
But Bitcoin is literally at the lows, as we're at, 61.7. So we broke 62,000. We're right back at the lows. There is some weakness overall in this market out here, for sure. And yes, I see you, everybody that's mentioning. I know we had a bunch of TikTok viewers, and heck, YouTube, doesn't really matter, about Peng. So paying 15% up, it is absolutely flying. This is not some cheap, useless move. This is a legitimate bull flag. Watch out 77, 78 if it has a chance to get up there again. There's been a heavy amount of selling, but this is a clean breakout on the 15-minute as well. So even if it were to pull back, you've got like 70 to 71 as some prior highs, as this one is absolutely fine. But for now, looking pretty decent for the shorts, and USO is trying to make its turn. So I said the second I see USO try to break that trend, I want to try to go into a reversal long on battle. It's still right around that 190 level on BATL, but now USO is trying to make that curl. So hopefully this will give the first opportunity off of the prior day highs to get a trend break here in battle. USO at pre-market lows.
We can talk about, good look there. We like USO. Pre-market lows, okay. So maybe this is a fake move higher there and just to scare that price of oil back up. But why would Trump do that? I mean, he's been talking about low oil prices and getting back into those levels. So, but there it is. Thank you, Top VoIP. We did call it on Alibaba a few weeks ago. Thank you for getting those 102 calls. I mean, there you go. Huge. You're now up 600%. So we say to you, and thank you for you're always here. So we want to say thank you to Top VoIP there. And hey, man, sometimes we get some calls right. And there it goes. Alibaba up 10% there. I'm glad we did talk about that. And, sometimes regardless of, I don't like it because it's Chinese or blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, you get a little, exactly. You get a little carried away with thoughts like that. But hey, man, at the end of the day, that's why we all invest. And it's up to you to decide. But I do like Alibaba, and I think that 10% is great. And I think there's a lot more to go. I honestly think 120 could even come tomorrow if we get good news. So watch out for some Alibaba trading coming to a stock market near you. All right. So, we did, just to talk, I'm in two very aggressive positions right now, including SpaceX, obviously, and then the futures, right? And so we just took another bid right there at 149.10. So that's been really where we've been able to get out. We did get one break down into 148.50. And just because we took that doesn't mean anything other than the fact that we can see the lows. And yesterday when we broke, it was something very, very similar happened, right? We broke that 150 right there, and then it basically bounced right. Like, you want to wonder why I'm sitting there at 148.65? I mean, it's right there. That's the low. So we take that fill, and now we watch and see what the story is for the rest of the day here on SPCX. And for me, it's underneath that 150. I'm fine supporting some of these levels. I put 150, 150. Maybe now it's about a 151 break if we get back into there. But let's just give it a little bit of room if we can on SpaceX is what we're doing. And then the TQs, man, this is turning out to be finally, not finally, it's a good trade, but we do have this name in our account now. We did get taken out at the top, putting us red on the TQQs, but back into a spot that we're more comfortable with right now as the market's trying to bounce around. And I do have a bid at 50, and then we'll see if we get a little lower here on the TQQs. And yesterday's talk was, you even looked at this as well. We talked about the all-time low for SMR. Well, it's right back to it right now again. So SMR,
but it's bouncing.
Yeah, it might have hit the low right there in the pre-market. I think last year was 880. We looked at it was 885, and yesterday it made that in the pre-market or early, and then it does it again today down there at 860 with a little bit of a bounce now for SMR.
I think it's got a little temporary bottom on it, but just remember, with that kind of a stock, zero is always a possibility with SMR. It's just a very, very, I think it's much better than like a quantum play. And I'm talking my own book. I do still own shares of SMR, but it's holding precariously onto that low. The USO bounce, here, I'll put these side by side so we can get a look. USO went into pre-market lows, put in a bottoming tail candle, and is reversing. So it went in off the 190 because that's what we liked here on Battle, right into the prior high. Would like to see this push into the volume weighted average price, scalp out, look to try to hold a piece. The ideal situation would be that this is the bottom, USO goes to the highs, and then there's like continuation over VWAP and all that good stuff. For now, it'll be a reload, stop at the lows. SLV is continuing to hold. So despite the move up in the markets, it's still holding the bottom of the range on the gap down. So down 3%, gold, silver, Bitcoin all weak right now. So I'm going to stay short this. But I will recognize that today I shift over from like looking at crypto to silver, and Bitcoin is weaker. So there might be an opportunity to add this to the list. It's respecting the volume weighted average price. It's holding weakness. Obviously, even with the market trying to bounce, with all of these chip names going ham, Bitcoin is still looking a little bit trashy. So I might decide to pivot. If I see silver go and break out on me, it's working for now, I would probably pivot over to IBIT if we could. But speaking about the market bouncing, you can't do that without looking at some of the strongest chip names that are going. I just heard in my ear Marvell hit the high of the day.
Oh, did it? Okay,
236. This could, a lot of these names are going to have the 50 period out in front of them. So when you look and zoom out, it's like, remember, this is nothing. It looks good, but if this isn't over 240, that ain't much. It's like you zoom out, if Micron isn't getting past, it's getting to 950 now, but if it doesn't hold this 980 gap or so, like there's still some really big levels up top that we could pull into that this move doesn't really tell you that much. I know it's great for a day trade, but there's going to be some fadeable levels, that's for sure.
All right. Love Trader TV Live. Well, thank you so much for that one. We appreciate you as well. Long-term swing and long-term trader. Okay. I noticed 90% of your plays are short. Yeah, for sure. Not much for longs like us. Okay. We'll love to see more long setups covered. Oh, shorts, as in we're covering shorts. Yeah. So for me, and I think it's for all of us here, I mean, you just kind of look at, what the market's doing, what sort of angle we favor on a particular stock. I mean, we are looking long. It's not like we're not looking long for names. Just today, you've seen the market. Now the market's looking long, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't really have an answer for that other than I just kind of trade what's in front of us. And today I do favor the short. So we are into the short early. It doesn't look like it's working out. But yeah, we'll focus on looking for long plays, looking for all of the plays. And even on SpaceX right now, that was a long play. Again, when we analyze things, we got to go to Adair because we have numbers at 10. And maybe we'll talk about this when we get back. But like that long was right down here too. We just showed you where the long was on SpaceX. So, there it is. That was right. And the SpaceX blowing back up to the upside. Okay, Adair, 10 seconds. Let's go over to her.
Let's take a look here at wholesale inventories month over month. This is a revision, so 0.3% is the forecast. Prior print, 0.3%. Wholesale sales month over month, less closely watched. That's also going to be in watch. Okay, so wholesale inventories month over month, 0.1% for this revision. That's below the forecast and the prior print of 0.3%. Wholesale sales month over month, 3.4%, well above estimates of 0.8% and the prior print of 2%. NASDAQ, really nice bounce here off of the lows. We know one of the things in focus here this morning for the whole market was U.S. oil and the overall oil and energy space as President Trump indicated that the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran was over. Other comments he made this morning during his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine over at the NATO summit in Turkey, Trump said that the U.S. is considering reimposing the Strait of Hormuz blockade, but only for Iran. So lots in focus there. AVGO. Great performance today. This is still near intraday highs. $30 billion multi-year deal struck with Apple. We already had some indications this deal was coming, but confirmed by Apple this morning. Broadcom also at intraday highs. Great look here. Great bounce and recovery for Broadcom. SanDisk, WDC, and Seagate. These memory names got hit really hard yesterday as traders assessed the preliminary earnings for Samsung Electronics, and they're also going to be on watch throughout the rest of the week as we await the SK Hynix IPO. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe. And really quickly, before we go back to Sean and Neil, there were longs taken yesterday by both of them on SpaceX. Sean and Joe were both long Tesla on Friday. This is just off the top of my head. I would say there's a really even mix of both longs and shorts on the show. Even mix of hosts. Lots of reasons to watch the show. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Back to the guys.
Thanks, I got a reason to watch the show. Thanks, Adara, for the free watch list this morning.
Yeah.
Well, every single day. But if we're talking about reasons to watch the show, Penguin Solutions, and you can find it here on our free watch list, trading higher after earnings, and you can go read it. Everyone, obviously, it's information out there for anybody to be able to check, but let's be real. It had the catalyst. You look at the levels. I'll be mad at myself. I know I was looking at Robinhood long and it was a dip. It never did. Penguin, if you were trying to play dip and rip, that was about as into the prior day high, into 65, and then there is your rip. It's got the catalyst for it, up 18%. We already went over the daily chart. There is some room into 78. It's not dipping into VWAP, so you can throw that kind of out the window. But talking about long setups, I mean, I was looking for a dip and go here in Robinhood, but like, what the heck? Like, it broke out. So sometimes sometimes it's just how it is. Like, you can like something to the long, but where you're looking to pick it up is not even remotely what happens. Now, right, the market is looking pretty strong. For now, silver just continues to be weak, so I can hold on to this. USO's making another leg higher. Here's what I don't like. USO's busting through VWAP. Well, that would be good, you'd think, for Battle. Well, Battle bounced, went like, I don't know, 7-8 pennies or so. It's a $2 stock, but now it's kind of stalling out. I'd like to see this followed in VWAP. It's just not really going as heavy as what we're seeing in USO, but we're still getting a bounce in USO. Gonna stick with the long, still have the reload in there, but at some point, you know what, or get off the pot, Battle, because USO is trying to go.
Yeah, I don't mind that battle trade at all. But traders, here's an offer that your broker is not giving you. Markets have been extremely active lately, to say the least. And for traders, this kind of environment creates huge opportunities. Big moves, more setups, more momentum. But to take advantage of these conditions, you need two things: discipline and, of course, access to capital. And that's where Trade the Pool comes in. Instead of being limited by the size of your own account, traders can access firm capital and focus on executing their trades and their strategy and managing risk in a different aspect. No more fear of blowing up your own personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about your own savings. This is what we call limited risk trading. So if you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without risking your own capital, please visit tradethepool.com for more details and sign up. And we have Mitch on, we have Steve Talman on, and we talk about, Neil and I are both on prop floor as well right here with Real Trading. So we want to thank Trade the Pool. Go get an opportunity there for all the U.S. residents with Trade Z Pool. Okay, on that note, yeah, man, SpaceX has kind of been a fail. And we talked about long versus short setups and whatnot. I'm in this name back into the short, but it doesn't look like it wants to break now underneath this 151. So we're going to take a couple more offers in and around here. We're just short at 150. We did get stopped out the first time. It does not break 152. So I said to myself, let's use 152 now as our out in case we do get this daisy move back to the downside. So we're bidding a little bit there. I'm bidding underneath 151. Let's see if we get a 150.80 on a break. Maybe we get that, maybe we don't. And then we'll wait. But we could take some out here and sort of cut the bleeding a little bit with SpaceX on the account. But who knows what this name wants to do today as the market's going to figure. Okay, let's go. Break through 151, and then we'll see what's going on here on the short side of SpaceX. And to Adara's point, I just want to show that we trade it all here. And those of you that watch know this, right? This is yesterday's Palantir long. That was $8 or something yesterday on Palantir off 132. Well, that right there is $4. I don't know exactly how much it went to. And then here's what I did on SpaceX the day before. We went long early off of 160. Then we went short on the 160 break. Then we went short again on the 160 break. So a lot of it is just the feel that you get on the market, right? We went long off 160 there. Then we went short, which was wrong, and then short again. So, I do get that we are always looking for a lot of traders looking for long because they don't have the margin accounts and things like that. And so I do appreciate those looks into some of you.
Well, you can still just almost always take some kind of an ETF for most plays in the other direction. We talk about that all the time. Like if you want to have a long to express silver, you can take ZSL if you like. Just also do remember any leveraged ETF. If you want to trade it, these are trading vehicles. Decay will destroy you if you try to actually hold them for a long period of time. But these are perfectly good trading vehicles out there. And when we talk about real trading, where we're trading, let's be real, we always have the opportunity to trade them. And oftentimes they're like the highest volume symbols that we're even looking at on a daily basis at real trading. So yeah, there is the opportunity to go in both directions. And most of the major stocks will have the same thing too. So if you can only go long, hey, there's always going to be some ultra short ETF for any of the big names. I get it, some of the smaller names won't have them. For now, whether you're trading ZSL or SLV, these are still looking incredibly weak. I want to also be able to get, at some point, a short in IBIT. That's coming right back into prior highs, or I guess the opening range tops, and looking for a little bit of a curl. So might look for not a reload, because I haven't been in it just yet. And Battle, we're still above VWAP on USO. I haven't gotten a reload. It hasn't really punched through to the volume weighted average price, so we're just kind of in a hold mode. It's made the low off the prior high that we liked, kind of let it fall down, but we're just not seeing the continuation. So I got work for you guys. Is there another small cap, because I haven't seen one, energy name that could be better than Battle this morning? I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to go as much as USO. So far, so good, but Intel works, silver's working. This is barely moving, despite the fact USO is about to get back into the highs any second now.
All right. Yeah, just trade. I think it's the idea here is sometimes you want to trade what's moving, and there it is now, $1.50 in the money. What's up, Ozan? As there it goes, man. SpaceX, we got it again. Here's the short. I still have half as well, so let's wait to see. We said we would try to hold on to things a little bit longer. I'm bidding 150 flat, so if that comes, you know what? We should just bid a little ahead of that. We actually got out nicely. Ahead of 150 already. My best fill down there was 150 and a quarter there on that reload. So we did, again, we got stopped out there. We put it back on. That's twice that's happened to us now. It happens to us right here as well at 71.50s on, 72.30s on the TQs. We did short that again. Now that's trying to come back in. But for me, watching out for SpaceX. Has there been any halters today? S-Dot halted right now. I mean, a perennial violator of the halt bans. Right there, S-Dot down 30%. That's been halted. Now let's go SpaceX. Let's see if it breaks 150. Hopefully it does. That's a halter there. True has been halting as well. TROO. What's up, Randy? Hope you're doing well there. Oil not doing much, Randy. We talked about that earlier. Coming through again. But if you just ask for another coffee, sure, I'll take one. Why not? That's 180 to the downside there on True. That one's been halted as well. And then we can go back over. I mean, Neil's been talking a little bit about oil. Needless to say. Battle. There, we got out. Looks like that low was 185 or so. I'd like to see it break through VWAP again, 210, which is coming upside right now. That is a possibility to get into that one is Battle. So, yeah, let us know if there's anything. Oh, Uber, I just saw on a move maybe here, 74. I like that. Get a little higher so we can sell you, Uber. Wow, it did get to 75. We sort of kicked ourselves for not getting out the last time it made that move into 80. I don't want to make that mistake again. I want to sit here at 78 bucks. I'm going to put that order in probably near lunchtime, whatever. See if that hits the next couple of days. 78 on Uber. Might have to wait for earnings before that one finally hits. Yesterday we had an all-time high break on Eli Lilly. And there goes Eli Lilly again here today. It's still down, but starting to make a little bit of a move. And shout out to everybody that's here today. Everybody on YouTube, everybody that's here. Everybody, what's up to Juan Padilla, John Pickett that's here, and everybody that's on TikTok. You'll see this chat will light up with TikTok logos here once you guys chat us up as well. So we're definitely looking at all of that. Hello, says Tony UK official. Neil is just in the UK. There it is. What's up? East meets West there. East meets West on TikTok saying yes, LLY. We love some LLY. That is for sure. All right, so just waiting. I'm now bidding 150 15s now on SpaceX. See if we get one more move down. Look, this is 40 cents worth of risk minus slippage. We just took about $1.40 on it. So, 2 to 1, 3 to 1 there. Working out so far so good here on SPCX. But what's up? Andrew Chow says hi to both of us. Hi, Andrew. Hope you are doing well. NASDAQ just got a nice little fill there as well as we spin the awesome note here for SpaceX and for the futures as of now. But this guy's in battle, which is a good one. Broke through $2.
Finally back through $2. It just made another leg higher. But I'm going to be reticent of one thing here. As it gets into VWAP, it's a trend break. Look at USO. Here, I'll zoom in so you can see it better. Look at USO on the 3-minute. That's a bit of a topping tail candle, pre-market highs, and like the opening range top as well. So that's exactly why I just got on the offer on that spike and made sure we got some out. Won't let this get underneath break even at this point, because if that's a temporary top on USO and that's all Battle's going to do, I ideally was trying to get a price of 190. I didn't because I didn't want to chase. I got no fills down here, only the 94s, but I'm not going to let this go into the red. Still haven't traded IBIT, and at this point, it would probably have 62 to break underneath. Yeah, Bitcoin's back above 62,000, so that's above 50. Above 62 even, also above the volume weighted average price. Unless I see it breaking that down, break under VWAP, break down under 62 again, I don't know that I want to fight it. The market's curling back underneath, and Bitcoin all of a sudden decides it wants to hold a bid. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather sell it on weakness than try to fight the trend, or at least what little trend it does have. So we're still in that battle. But if USO does not make a fresh high, which it still has a chance to. If it doesn't make a fresh high, then I'm going to be out if this thing break even. We lose VWAP, got to be able to get out of Dodge. And shout out to the chat. You guys were, I asked, like, what is moving? SkyQ is a good-looking chart. That's cool. WTI was maybe not as good. It has a chance to break the volume weighted average price. I would say SkyQ looks a little bit more interesting here. Look at that one holding the uptrend. Always go long on coffee.
We would, man. Okay, I'll take it. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Randy, for that. Still got the banana over here, and actually, I almost polished that whole coffee off there. So it was. Thank you so much, Randy. And we can look at. By the way, the futures are finally, man. We're almost $1 in the futures. We're $1 also here. We'll hit the dollar club there. That's what I was just going to look up.
You probably don't want to look at that.
There today, it was down 3. Oh,
they don't want to.
Yeah, this is nasty today. Rivian down another 4%. We said there was. Yeah, Randy likes it. I mean, again, if names, I think that's the right attitude. If names are coming back into levels you like and not much has changed, you want to buy this. So there's the 200 period moving average for Rivian coming into play. We saw an 11 or 12% move yesterday. Continuation here today for Mr. Rivian to the downside there. So yeah, maybe we buy some at this 50 period moving average. We're still waiting for our R2 invitation. Okay, Tesla competitor, I guess, in the space. They're also down another 2% today. Tesla, look at this over the last couple of days, man, really bleeding down. They got up to 420 again, and 420. I have it. There it is. That's a key level there for Tesla, and it falls right off of there, and it matched back into here, 420 back to the downside. So Tesla right now not having the greatest of days. And just to let you guys know, I have a third left. We got a bunch out down here, man, on SpaceX, just like we were talking about. And there's another talk about the long. Like if I'm covering a spot, essentially that means that I'm thinking, and especially at a 150 level, like when it comes down and we start to cover and we talk about it, like if you're looking long, like those are good spots as well. Every single time that we're looking for breaks, those are also areas that if you think the other way around, you could take the other trade. So for SpaceX, it's bouncing off of 150. I'm now going to wait. I do not have another bid at 150. I only have a third left. Let's wait for that break and see if we get a 149 again. So we'll go to 149.80. That's basically what we've been doing, is trying to just get a little cheeky with it, get that extra 20 cents on an even level break. But when it doesn't break, we want to make sure that we get something out. So there it is on the way back in. That's 150.50. That's 150.25. We're playing quarters. That's 150.10, right? As it comes back in and does not break, then on the way back up, we get another 25 out, right? So price 25. So that's how I'm playing it right there today. Questions about, neither one of us is really on the chip names yet, but NVIDIA's holding out pretty good. I mean, the fact that we're up today on a down market means yay for me on NVIDIA, I think, right?
AMD went green. AMD's gone back into the red. AMD's been holding up pretty well. If we're talking about those chip names, which I think you have to, Micron's threatening to pull back into the volume weighted average price. Intel's probably, it just never, the market was so strong, but Intel never really pressed back into some of those highs. I should be continuing this one and looking for VWAP instead. Just one quick adjustment. USO has now broken the the opening range highs. I don't want to say the high of the morning because obviously it was a lot higher in the overnight, but you are now starting to get that rally and we're really starting to go again. That could weigh on the market. Try to push things back in. I got SLV, which is now breaking its low of the day. Nice. But as I said, Battle, I want to be adding to this. You're at the highs, and it just doesn't want to, it's going. It's going, but it's not going. And SkyQ, and shout out, I know in the chat, we were just talking about SkyQ. We had a lot of people mentioning this one. We had some viewers on TikTok that hit their daily targets on SkyQ with some pre-market entries. That's pulling back into VWAP as well. So you're pulling back into the volume weighted average price as everything is going higher. So I don't know if that one's gone as far as it wants to go up that 27%, but with oil going higher and breaking out, there's that breakdown through VWAP and IBIT. So I'm now short that, breaking through the volume weighted average price. Prior bar is going to be the exit point. So it's a trend break, obviously. As you can see, it was in an uptrend, now it's in a downtrend. Going to look for the LOD here. I think this is the same. We said you have to be watching USO. Or you should, whatever. You don't have to do anything. I believe you're watching USO. This is now starting to break higher, which gives a little bit of a bearish sentiment back into the markets. The president was talking, and he was saying probably what you don't want to hear if you want oil prices down, which is they could strike tonight. Or was it today or tonight? I don't even know.
He actually said will.
Will.
Will strike, okay.
Whatever. That's not good. And if you were thinking about some of the other oil names, I know we've been looking at Battle, but like XOM, that just broke VWAP now. Yep. CVX was kind of the same thing. Occidental, like none of these were really going all that crazy. They were selling off in the pre-market. They're now starting to get a bit of a bid and starting to rally as well with oil breaking out that high. It's going to be hard for the market if that continues.
Yeah, it looks like we are getting a little bit of a bounce back right now. And yeah, guys, let us know. We do have, if you look at the back screen over there, we do have some of the top stocks to be talked about, the chats going through on there, the super chats, everything. So guys, definitely let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll be here to talk about that with you guys. And we just talked a little bit about oil there. DraftKings spiking to VWAP here, but not, yeah, it's not really doing anything. Just hit on the scanner. I wanted another name that maybe we could look at here, DKNG. And, with World Cup winding down and, baseball is, still around, obviously, as we head into the All-Star game. Baseball is not really a big, huge catalyst I haven't seen for this. Obviously, we wait for NFL, we wait for NCAA, football, and things like that as the gambling aspect will kick up. But I think for DraftKings, it's really just waiting to see the effect of Kalshi and Polymarket. And so we'll wait for their next sort of earnings report to come through. But what a good basement they've formed here around that $20 mark. So I think there's something about that with DraftKings. I think this was their last earnings report all the way to the downside, made that low, retrace back up, hit that $20 low again. So we'll wait for DraftKings. I like the first mover advantage with DraftKings and Flutter. And I do think that there is going to be a little bit more talk about the legalities of Polymarket and so on and so forth, and how that all works. The know your customer aspect needs to be, I think, looked at a little bit there as well. So anyways, we'll talk more about DraftKings when it gets hit, but I do like DKNG here, back into that, near that $20 mark, like the stock. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Okay, so out more here at VWAP for the market, as we just posted it up. Also waiting, we did not reload. We could have. It got up to 140, 150, 140s there. I am not going to reload this one. We still have that third left on SpaceX, waiting for a one. I didn't even take a sip yet. This is why my coffee gets so cold, man. I gotta drink this when it gets in front of me there. But yeah, we're going to go back over to Adara now. We haven't talked about too many small caps, but the one that we have, Battle, is well talked about, I think.
IQ has been better.
Yeah, and then S dot. Let me see if that opened. Before we go back to Adara, it's still not opened. So S dot halted at 10:08. So it's now plus 12 minutes. So we'll have to wait to see what's going on with S dot. All right, Adara, small cap recap. What did we miss?
Let's kick it off here with VTAK. This is Catheter Precision, a name that I believe is rallied in the past. $4.23 million market cap here, a float of around 2 million shares. Apparently there was a partnership here with Flight LifeVac. So good look there for VTAK. We're going to take a look as well here at BATL. This is Battalion Oil, $43 million market cap, 18 million share float, and a 26% short float. Why is this up? It's an oil name, as you can tell by the name here, Battalion Oil. And we know, as we just discussed here, President Trump making more comments about Iran and maybe that ceasefire not holding. That's going to be a good look for oil plays like BATL. Last but not least, EDBL. This name we discussed this morning with Luis. Very, very small price here. It's only 13 cents a share. But we know this one did have some news today. They've rallied in the past, and they rallied this morning after a company, I guess, released an SEC filing revealing that they took some shares in the stock. I believe the amount of the stake was around $63,000. You have a market cap here of $760,000 and a float of 5.5 million shares. Back to you.
All right, thanks.
Well, we just made a bit of...
VTAK just halted again,
yeah.
by the way, but anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
So there was a bottom tail, two places. One, we'll have the first loss today for myself, which will be an IBIT, but also just wicked out of that silver trade. It hit the LOD and then made a bottoming tail candle and a reversal, like an Uno reverse card over there. And so that one will be out. But for now, I feel it's still weak. We can short pops back into our resistance point if we get back to that 53 level. But there's that push. We take the breakdown, but there's the prior break in the IBIT. So get it out. Do not want to be fighting this if we're going right back into the highs. And all of a sudden, Battle's still trying. I think you just stick with this one. I'm not really seeing... I don't have a reason to add, don't have a reason to get out, scalped into VWAP. I'm just looking for it to break the volume weighted average price. There might even be a chance to reload this if this ridiculous, it's not ridiculous, but if this trend continues on USO, it's all green on a 3. And everything about this just broke the highs. It could pull back into a prior high and continue to go, and then maybe battle gets going again. But for now, it's not really doing as much as you'd like to see. 10 to 15 cents is fine, but I want to see it break through, give like that big move like you were seeing late in the afternoon. So we'll see if that can happen. Looking for reload silver, maybe even Intel as the market goes back into the highs. That could give us another opportunity at the 110 level for a scalp trade off of some resistance. We got to be a bit patient. You're catching a real bid here. And if we're being real about what the market is doing, these memory chips are just like slinging it on the back, or just overall the AI trade, they're just slinging it on the back. And Atlas is carrying us to topside here. Was that it? Like, we keep talking about the 20 to 25% dips. You go bear territory in the AI play, and the dip buyers just seem to want to come in. So DRAM definitely got there, even more so, was over 25% down and having a pretty convincing run, able to get back above that 50-period moving average, which is more or less what you want to see.
Yeah, no, I reloaded a little bit here on the TQs just because we did have that huge move right now, kind of out of nowhere. I mean, we just got some out at 30. We're able to put it back there at 90. I did want to say in the chat, well, we have this right now, bear spread on Qs. Okay, so bearish call, look at the Qs. B711 on Qs, B711 in 709, out 706 plus $200. What's up, Showtime? I mean, I'm the same kind of way here. I'm pretty bearish on, not bearish on the NASDAQ, but for today, we had seen sort of some green shoots here early. Let's see if the market, there it is. Fucking go. Yes, man. Let's go. Some more outs down there now as we just put that reload on the TQs. And hopefully you're following me there, Showtime, on the TikTok machine here, because we had just posted up that we've been shorting, that's Palantir, all the way up here. We had been shorting the TQs all morning. And we actually did say, look, I even indicated there, it's not just about talking about the winning trades, but there it is. I said, we got taken out at the highs right there, because we did. And we got back in, and now we're riding this lower, and you can see right there, it was a reload, and I guess that kind of counts as a reload there, back there at O's, so we get 71.98 or something like that, and now we get some out in the 60s and in the 50s as it's starting to go back to the downside. But thanks to everybody for going there. What's up, Rob? RS Rob Muffin there. Let's go, Sean. Let's go, Muffin Man Rob as well.
The Muffin Man.
Good on that one. TQs and SpaceX on the short rate now. We like it. We like everybody watching us worldwide on TikTok, on Instagram, and we have Adara. This is the thing about our show, man. We only have one Adara, and she's back there with an update. Let's go over and see what she's up to.
Keep an eye on USO. President Trump and the leader of Syria currently speaking live. This was supposed to happen at 8:30 a.m., which is actually when his talk with Zelensky started. And he was also supposed to give a press conference at 11:15 a.m. That seems like that will also very likely be delayed. So President Trump speaking right now, nothing really market related has been said yet. Apparently they lift sanctions on Syria. I believe that was already announced. If I get any more details, I'll let you know. Keep an eye on USO. Back to you.
Absolutely, and thank you, Adara. And if you are keeping an eye on it, we're still just pressing through the highs. You're not getting too much of a slowdown, although, look, this next candle could close red on this bad boy, but it's still looking like it's going to be energy up. And if that's the case, got to be really, really patient looking for anything for fade play. That's going to include hopping back into the working short in SLV, or taking a second crack over there on IBIT, or even, as I like to hunt for a short opportunity, now starting to look at a stronger name, SMCI. You're like, why would you wanna? It's been so badly beaten up and all that. Well, it's all about key levels. One of the things I like is I like closing prices more than opening prices. They matter more in the market. And if a stock closes at the same price 2 days in a row, that automatically becomes a key level, in my opinion. This stock did pretty much exactly that to end last week, and to begin the week, double barrel at about 27 1/3 is where it closed the day. And look at where the top so happens to be. Oh, that same 27.3. So when I see this and I'm looking for something that might be a fade, you've already got some lower highs being put in here. So why not? Oil wants to continue to go higher. I think it drags the market with it. And this name is one that is primed to get downside. Showtime again in the chat. I didn't see you, but my analysis said
good. Yeah, I mean, that's why we want you guys in the chat there. And yeah, really, really great when other minds are thinking alike on some stocks. So we do appreciate that. What up, Showtime? I like that one there. Good.
Like Magic?
Yeah, basically like Magic Johnson over there. All right, so what else we want to look at there? Just always in the same names, I guess. That just did not get to 71.20, I don't believe. I wasn't actually bidding there. So if that did just flash through, yeah, I guess it might have. Darn it, that was crazy. That just went down. I better put another bid over there. Make sure we capture that. We don't exactly have a whole bunch of shares right now, as we did empty out a lot at these lows. We reloaded a little bit. I was waiting for a little bit more at the very high there. That looks like that's a missed opportunity. But yeah, we're long right now into this market. Sorry, short into the TQs and looking to get a little shorter if it does pop through. I don't know what that move looks to be right, because it does happen right there as well. So not just a bad quote on the TQs. All right, so SpaceX, we're still in it. What else? Oh yeah, another name, IoT. You guys might have heard me talk about Internet of Things. Samsara, a name that I like, that I've been on here for a minute, and that had a nice little run upside there. Didn't get anything out, but watch out for Samsara. Nice levels there. I'm only mentioning this because I had mentioned myself trading this stock. So if anybody else is on it, we just had a nice high into 37 and 38. Probably should have taken some out. We're long down here near that 30 level on IoT. Good report. Back in. We'll wait to see what happens with Internet of Things moving forward there. And then, yesterday we had a nice move back upside in J&J, another name that I've put a little bit of money to work in. Look, I have more NVIDIA and all that than J&J, but did see a little sector rotation the last couple of weeks and was able to buy that. So we like that. We talked about Eli Lilly as well. And let's just do a quick little broad look here before we get happening now. And, just looking across the whole manufacturing sector, yesterday, this was getting hit pretty good. And today, a little bit of a bounce back. We saw some of these names down 6, 7, 8% yesterday. Cat was down 5. I think we had GV down 10 or close to that. IREN, we talked about that a little bit. It's not on here. But John Deere, I kind of like that name as well. But they're trying to battle back just a little bit here today. The problems today, of course, seems to be with Meta down 1.5, Google down 1.5, Softy almost down 2% there today as well. Oracle, Netflix, there's Palantir. We had that talk yesterday trying to get a prediction on where Palantir might go. Down another 5% today after battling back yesterday a little bit. So that's a negative name there. And then we also got the question about whether or not we thought about JP Morgan's price today, up or down. And I just kind of went chalk and said, hey, look, where the stock is right now, it looked like it was going to be a downside play into earnings. I like JP Morgan long, but it is down today in the bank space. Health technology has been good. They're all down today. So it's not, the breadth today seems to be relatively mixed, considering the Nasdaq's only down, 0.5%? No, less than that. S&P down 0.58. Looks like there's more strength today in the NASDAQ names. Broadcom, Micron, some of these names helping us get back up to the upside, while the financials down. There's Tesla down as well. Consumer durables downside today, including Ford, General Motors, and we did see Rivian down. But yeah, I'm going to still run with the short, but the heat map looking pretty good. And sometimes we get a little nervous because most of the stocks that we trade are tech related, and we always get questions about Micron. And when that moves up and down, there seems to be a little bit of a problem. But there's a lot of strength in this market. I think Walmart's back to 112, so there's some good spots to get long. Oil patch as well today.
Yeah, the oil patch obviously going to be a place where you got to look, but they took it a while. It took a while for the oil names to get going. Look, VWAP is breaking again on IBITS. We're back into that. Was just talking about SMCI as a potential breakdown. So this one just came in as it got a little bit of a bear flag off that prior double barrel close. Want to see this one get down in through VWAP, and the plays to 26.5 is where we're looking to get to on SMCI. 10:30 just hit.
Yeah.
And it's Wednesday, which usually means crude oil inventories.
Yeah, it did.
But I didn't hear.
They hit, yeah.
Oh, okay. But I didn't hear anything in my ear.
It's 3 million barrels built versus 2 billion draw. Just before we go over to Adair, hot dog cannon time. SpaceX just hit 150 again. So I got out a little bit ahead of that, 150.25 again. We've seen it bounce around. I still have a third. I got out of a very small portion there. We have just a little under a third right now of SpaceX as that just came in. I just want to bring that to your attention because one more time we're bouncing off that 150. So, we got to take a little bit, still waiting for a longer move down through 150. So bidding 149.80 and then we're bidding lower. So let's leave it at that and go back over to the desk with Adara.
More comments on oil here from President Trump and Besant. President Trump saying, quote, maybe we'll do some things that could increase the oil price. And then U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying with regards to Iran and oil, quote, I think maybe U.S. oil should trade at a premium. President Trump also said that he doesn't really seem to be thinking at this point about sending troops on the ground. So that could, I guess, be viewed as slightly de-escalatory or at least less escalatory than things might have sounded earlier today. If I get any more details, I'll let you know. But oil very much in focus. President Trump continuing to make comments.
He is, and it's still nary a red candle over here on oil. You're not in 3 minutes. It's now 5%. USO is up 5%. Continue to go higher. It's hard to imagine that we're not going to see weakness in the market if this continues. We got Willis Addison swung 110 calls here for tomorrow. Oh, sorry, not tomorrow. Today's Wednesday. For Friday, obviously Friday expiration. So far, so good. Yeah, it's going to be hard to argue with the sentiment here. It bounced. It's literally like right back in the prior highs. It just never really dipped down there for you to get a chance. And now you're off and running. There's a huge gap. If you're only looking at this technically, there is a pretty hefty gap in here if we break out about 115, 116 on USO. There's just a lot of room for it to run. And if you like individual names, I'm not going to blame you. The Venezuela tops going back into her beginning of the year was a perfect bounce spot. And these have a little bit of a gap to go. CVX, a couple more dollars, and you're heading into that 180 resistance. So, yeah, I still think there's going to be some continuation. Show me a headline that says otherwise, and then we can change the sentiment. But for now, USO is absolutely flying around. I did say the disappointing thing about Battle is it couldn't turn into a loser, but USO kept going higher, and Battle, it just wasn't able to break VWAP. So we got the curl on BATL. We played it. It got to VWAP. But if USO is going to do that, and this is actually turning into a bit of a, now it's just a weak name and starting to sell off. So sometimes the small cappers, you like the low float. So if oil's going, it's typically been pretty good. Just not today for BATL. It's still holding out around the level we like. But USO just made another fresh high, and this is going lower. So you got to take the win that's available for you. You can want it to go to 250, but if the stock only wants to bounce 15 cents, you got to take it.
Yeah, a little disappointing on that one. We were hoping that there would be maybe a halt over there. It doesn't seem
something.
That's been happening. Is S-Dot open up? No, it is not. VTAK was a story that Adara brought us as well. That's coming to the downside.
That's still holding.
This opened up, and there it was there at 10:15, opens back up and starts to head lower on VTAK. And just quickly here, as we get all these, anytime we hit Iran, oil goes up. It's all right. Yeah, I mean, economics 101 there, and I think that makes sense. Anytime you're going to hit infrastructure or one of the largest producers in the world, I would think that would be right. But I do understand what he's saying about U.S. oil. I mean, with Venezuela and all that, the United States now does have apparently enough oil to be self-sufficient. So maybe that's okay if oil prices go up for the U.S. government, but not great for people, of course, as they look to refuel their cars and heat their homes or whatever everyone's doing. I mean, if oil still stays relatively high heading into the winter months, fall months, that could be a little bit of a problem there as well for that heating situation I just talked about. Okay, more outs here as we start to come back in. That's good. Let's go there for the TQs. 71.20. I'm sitting at 71.25s. There it is. Yes. We get it. Yeah, let's go. Face slapper there again. Net or 70 cents now in the money on the TQs, $1. And look, I apologize. I'm not trading like a madman here today. I'm very, very focused on what stocks I'm looking at and how we're looking at them today. Very, very specific strategy. Holding the short in both the NASDAQ and in SpaceX. I like both those shorts. They've been paying out so far so good now, both about $1. AMD, I called this sort of, I may get out of all of my AMD soon at some point, put it in the NASDAQ, put it into maybe even the SOXL. And that is because I do think that AMD, I still like the AI story, but I am worried about some kind of a break right here near in and around 5 bills for advanced micro devices. The fact that we're actually flat today on this name is a nice story, but I'm not convinced that AMD doesn't have a downside move to it still. So we're gonna watch out for that. And then also trying to get out a little bit of Marvell as well, because that name has been tipsy-turvy. We're lucky that we were able to get out before, some of it anyways, before that inclusion into the indexes. So that turns out to be pretty good. But yeah, a little bit nervous about the back and forth here in the market. But yeah, there it comes back in. Yeah, let's go for the market downside. Adara, I heard a little snicker back there. What's up?
President Trump just finished his conference. To quote President Trump from a couple minutes ago, as oil goes, so goes everything else. Now, I guess as he continues to talk about oil, we're now seeing comments from Iran. Iran's press TV is reporting that apparently Iran will be striking enemy targets at a ratio of at least 2 to 1. So as Iran hears that the U.S. plans to strike, looks like Iran's saying, hey, we'll strike as well. We'll actually outnumber your strikes. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Adara, as always. And man, oh man, this market, just when you thought,
President Trump,
I keep forgetting we have the key. That's my bad.
You keep forgetting that he's watching as well.
I can always be hitting the thank you with Adara. He's always trying to watch the show.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it when the market goes down.
Donald Trump may be on our show in the next couple of weeks, by the way, FYI on that one. Nope, not at all, Adara. Nope, not at all.
Well, whatever it was, the second that thank you with Adara happened, we got a bit of a bounce. Like, in SMCI was like the newest trade. It didn't bounce off VWAP. Actually closed the gap a little more, got into 26.8 here, so got that quarter in the money. And then right back above the volume weighted average price. So you are seeing the market, a little bit of pep in the step in the market.
Yeah, for sure.
This would be a point where if USO finally puts in a red candle, like maybe shows some kind of a trend break, you could see a VWAP bounce on the Qs. If you're trading something into the south side, maybe you get that. I'm inclined to look for what is much weaker. Like I'm in it, IBIT, that's at the volume weighted average price. That's kind of like here. But if the market bounces again, Intel's still putting in lower highs, and I got away from that to find SMCI, which would be fine as long as it works out. But look at VWAP and trend down. Kind of hit it and quit it, and that's still heading to the downside. 2.5% down. When all the other chips, like look at this, like look at Micron.
Let me take a look at that.
Look at AMD. Look at all the other chip names. Intel's kind of being a bit of a dog here in today's session. And one name that we haven't looked at, and I know it was in the watch list, and we talked about the Broadcom story. It's going to be hard for the market to do that much. Like Apple's been doing some lifting recently.
Yeah, I like Apple here.
It had just gone green and pulled back. Now it has another attempt to be able to go green here. I think this is a type of name that can provide a little bit of leadership back into the upside if it can break 310.5. But for now, I'm still thinking the shorts because USO is whatever. It's still kind of trending to the upside. So SMCI got a bid at 26.7, 26.6, and 26.5. If it breaks through that, then I'm thinking gap fill. So at that point, I want to be down to like the last 10%, and then if it fills the gap, fantastic.
I like that SMCI short. I mean, I think there's some good reason to be short in the market right now. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in this world as far as oil, and I just sort of did my little spiel there about AMD and whatnot, and I do think that there's some money still to come out. We have SK Hynix coming through on Friday. I think that's going to be a sap, just like sort of absorbing some of that cash in this space as well as people look to move around and get ready to put some in. I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't know what you're feeling about it. I'm not going to trade it like an IPO. I'm just going to watch it open up, get a lot of liquidity, hopefully, in that. But I'm not taking that first print.
I'm paying for locates.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I want to trade it like a normal
I'm sort of
situation.
thinking about maybe like the first good-looking flat bottom break.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And then try
or
to
even
short
a high break. Like, I'm okay going both ways. I think you are as well. It's just, a little more negative on SK Hynix as we were, as opposed to like an Anthropic or a SpaceX, which is coming to market for the very first time, right?
No opening.
Okay, good call there. I think I like that one as well for that. But yeah, the market's coming back in. SK Hynix, SPCX trying to make some moves as well here into the open market. So we'll just give this all a little bit of a go and see what we wind up doing here with the market as we move forward. But it's 10:40. We've got another update with Adara. Then we're back to here. We'll figure out what's for lunch, and then we'll get ready for the midday madness with Sharif and Joe.
If you're a sector that's not oil, you're probably having a pretty rough day. Energy and minerals to the upside as a group. I mean, you've got slight green here for the larger names in the sector, XOM, CVX, and COP. But then you get names like Valero here or MPC, where they're up like 4 to 5%. So again, as oil continues to rise, as President Trump and Iran continue to make comments about striking one another, oil just continues to push higher here as a sector. Producer manufacturing about half decent. You've got the larger names here, AMAT and LRCX to the upside. Everything else is red. Now let's get to what's really weak here. Tech services, bloodbath. PANW, CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity play is getting hit for the second straight session. I'm hard-pressed to find anything green here. One name that is green here is VRSN. That's about it. You've got Google, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, Palantir, all sharply to the downside. Consumer services, red. Process industries, red. Commercial services, red. Finance, sharply red. Electronic tech is interesting because you have some bright spots here. SanDisk, ANAT, to the upside, SanDisk, because we know we're recovering from a pretty rough sell-off yesterday. But then you have Broadcom also up 4% or so. Apple announcing a $30 billion multi-year commitment with AVGO. But the Meg 7s in this sector are roughly flat, and Intel's red. Another sector that's kind of interesting here, retail trade. You do have some strength in the likes of Costco and Walmart, but Home Depot, Amazon, Lowe's, a lot of the other names in the sector trading lower. We're going to send you back over to Sean and Neil. Do make sure to like and subscribe.
CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike and Palo Alto.
Back out there to the upside, man. We like some.
Although for being real, it's not that bad.
Real.
The last time it went on a really big jaunt on the weekly, CrowdStrike did have this nasty-looking weekly candle before reversing. So another sort of nasty-looking weekly candle is setting up. The week's not over, but you could pull back into 170 to 175, and that wouldn't be the end of the world.
Bang.
So, yeah, sometimes you have strong stocks that just absolutely, maybe they go too far, too fast, something along those lines. But if that's the case, watch out below. There's your real weakness, 3.3%, and not to pick on them and whatever. I just go to CrowdStrike and Palo Alto because that's what we have. Palo Alto's down 4.5%, but if we give a little bit of credit where credit is due, look at how strong these stocks have been. So the pullback isn't that bad. You've got to put things into perspective every single time. The way we keep looking over, we're kind of looking over our shoulder here. If you're short anything that's following the market, you've been looking at USO and oil futures go higher. Now it's looking a little bit more toppish, and you're starting to pull back. So that bid could be starting to come in. If that's the case, I guess here it is. It bounces again back in through VWAP. So I'm going to get some out on the volume weighted average price here. Just don't want it consolidating and then breaking higher on me. We get lower highs, topping tail. There's an entry. Again, so there's high, lower high, topping tail. When it breaks that prior bar, it gets short, play to the volume weighted average price. But now you're seeing oil pull back. Really starting to think about if oil comes all the way back and battle wasn't a long,
right,
then doesn't battle become a short?
Yes.
And Sean's like, yeah. So I'm like,
yeah, I think so.
Yes, I think so too. So it's free locates for us. I don't know why it's free locates for us. Usually we have to pay. Shout out to Real Trading. The fact that we can short this one for free probably would have been better at the volume weighted average price. But if USO does not make a fresh high, maybe consolidates sideways or does a topping tail, first available pop, as long as this high isn't breached, I'll reverse what I think in battle. It's starting to come back in.
So right now we're $1.50 on SpaceX. We're $1 on the NASDAQ. And we said in the chat there, who's short? Neil and I both short. Who's short with us? And there goes the TQs near we just got basically the low of the day. Not basically, we got the low of the day there. If you talk about open market, that's where we started. We're right back into it. We just take that bid right there and we told you we still had some shares on board. So we do. And that is what that is. And here we go. Let's go, man. Gates of hell one more time again. Gates of hell one more time again. There it is, man. There goes SpaceX right now. Look, man, we got greedy and we got it. 149.80. That was
another one.
As we'll ride the bears again to the downside. And we talked about why we were waiting for that level, man. A 150 break. We'll get a little bit greedy and we'll take that to the downside. There's SpaceX again. Written on here, USO, SpaceX, Battle, and IBIT. Neil's on IBIT, so we don't have that one, but that's a nice move too. Back into 61.70 right there. But there goes SpaceX, man. Now $2 in the money on the short. And yeah, did we get stopped out? Yes, we did. Right there. And once it did not break 152, we got right back in 1 minute later. And there it is, the downside. And it's too bad that, we got a bunch out at 51, just trying to play that 50 cents because it was 50 cents worth of risk. So now you're in the money about $1.70 with that 50 cent worth of risk right there. So we're going to play it back into the downside right now. See if we get a little lower. We are definitely aware that this 149 flat held previously. So we're going to wait for that one. And then, what else can we really say right here? Market go boom to the downside right now. So see you later goes the NASDAQ, and we'll sit there and see if we can't take a bid on this. And I'm just bidding 72s. That was the low there. We'll see if we get it. Maybe, you know what? We'll just punch upside. Okay, well, there it is. We take 80s. So we'll still bid a little bit lower there and take that 72 if it's available. But there it is, man. Hopefully you guys, we've been talking short, both of us, for a while now. And there it goes, the short finally coming back into play here. So yeah, let's go, man. The Bitcoin's downside, TQs, the NASDAQ, there
everything.
It is. Everything is
even
downside.
oil's going down now.
Yeah, man. I mean, the market doesn't like it today. And, we favored the short, and now it's starting to finally pay off. So, yeah, it's been a good morning, needless to say here. Yeah, not really too much.
Bob back in the chat. Bob back in the chat. Well, there's no new news that would be causing the market reversal. Yep. But overall, oil's been trending higher all day. Yesterday, you had Samsung concerns, and the second the chip names and DRAM and Micron start to lose it, they try to break them. Remember we said, if this doesn't get to like 980, if it doesn't break out that prior close, if DRAM, nice bounce, right? But look what happened in DRAM. Did it even break yesterday's highs? Spoiler alert, no, I'm staring at the charts. I should have asked the question, then I could have looked at the chart for you guys. Did it break the highs? No. And so reverse, you can get that big bounce, but if you don't push through resistance and something is in a downtrend, then that's kind of a short to pop. Like, look what happens. There's a resistance level. It gaps up, goes into a resistance, doesn't break it, so it's back down. We push higher, you go into resistance, it doesn't break it, so you continue to go lower. When stocks do this, it's kind of great if you've got the early push, but if they can't bust through, there's SMCI, it goes into this double close going into the end of last week, and now it's pressing lower and trying to fill this gap in. So you can have all kinds of early strength, but the overall structure of the market or of the group that you're looking at hasn't broken its downtrend, unfortunately. And I wish, we all want stocks to go up. Well, I mean, most of us want stocks to go up in the longer term, but sometimes the sentiment is just headed the other way, unfortunately. So right now, the market is and continues to be red. Although here's the poll I was going to put up. I meant to do this earlier. I was going to put a poll up about USO. And it's a little late now because obviously everyone knows USO went and broke through the high of the day. So here, it's almost 11 o'clock. USO is trading about 113.80. So I'm just going to say over under 114 on USO. So I'm going to show you guys the chart. Everyone in the chat, get ready. This is the chart of USO. Now, I know we're coming at the highs, right? So here's the breakout. Are we going to close above 114, which is close to up 5%? Above 114, or is this the top and we can actually head back down and we're going to get some relief? I think at that point, you're probably betting on something coming from the president to send us in the other direction. So are we over, under, and over?
Oh, boy.
Over, if I can even type here, or under. I'm pretty sure we're going to have people bullish on oil. Start the voting. All you got to do is type 1 for USO over 114, 2 for USO under. And I'm just talking about today. You don't have to make some prediction about the next 5 weeks or months or whatnot. Just let us know. I think oil is going higher. That's where we're going to stay short in the overall sentiment for the day in stocks. So let us know in the chat how you feel about it. Overwhelmingly over, so pretty bearish on the market and bullish on oil today. 77% already. That fits with the theme. Don't fight the trend.
Yeah, I don't think fighting the trend is a very good idea in this market these days, that's for sure. Yeah, we're not doing that at all. And as you can see here, we are really enjoying it today as SpaceX, we're now $3 in the money on these two positions, including the futures and SpaceX. But I just took another piece at 50 because maybe 50 is that magnet that we had talked about earlier. It doesn't seem to want to break too far away from it and just hovering around 150 right now. I do have another bid at 149.80, but right now it's a Dara with money talks, and we'll come back and figure out what's for lunch.
Let's take a look here at the US dollar, and I just wanted to zoom out because this daily uptrend here from these lows going back to January, February of this year, it looks pretty solid. You get this low bounce here above 95s. You get another bounce in late April, mid-May, that double bottom here around 97 halves. Get another bounce here going into early June, another in mid-June, and then yet another couple days ago here. Let's see if the US dollar can continue to push higher, because we know we did make our high of the year and actually over 1 year highs a couple days ago, or I guess now a couple weeks ago, going back to late June. DXY, not too much to report here. Pretty light day when it comes to economic data. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on the oil just to get a sense of geopolitical sentiment, because we know President Trump basically said, yeah, oil will go higher as we do strikes. Quote, as oil goes, so does everything else. Comedy said a couple minutes ago now. We know Iran's also been trying to escalate on oil too. They said they'll close the Strait of Hormuz if they face fresh attacks, and they also said they'll strike enemy targets at least a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at these inflation expectations, or sorry, not inflation, rate hike expectations. We're still seeing roughly, 70% chance of rates being held at the July meeting, roughly 30% chance that they'll be increased by 25 basis points. But going forward, things are changing drastically. As of yesterday, we basically saw this 375 to 400 being held from September onwards. That would imply a 25 basis point rate hike in September and not any other action going forward. That's changed. So now we're still seeing that 25 basis point rate hike in September, but then we're seeing another 25 basis point rate hike from that point in March. So it's a 50 basis point rate increase over the next 9 months or so. That is a little bit, I think, more hawkish than what we were seeing yesterday. We'll have to wait and see how this develops, but keep an eye on oil prices and keep an eye on the CME Fed Watch tool, and stick with us at Trader TV Live for your oil and inflation and everything else updates. Back to you.
Oil and inflation right now. Yeah, proud dad moment right here. Marissa just sent me this right here. This is Gia. She's at like a skills camp today. I guess she's number 10. So there she is right there. Whoops. See ya. There's that move right there. And then that's a props up. And here's her playing a little bit of defense right there. Give me that puck. Poke check, see ya, right there, and a little bit more props up there. And there's one more, I think, coming through. Very proud of her. Maybe that's it. Very proud of her there today. Thank you to Marissa for sending that through as the reason why I'm here. So shout out to family. SpaceX trying to go back upside. So again, good couple outs. We got another 149.80 right there. Let's go figure out what's for lunch, and then we'll get out of here. We'll see what's going on. 5 more minutes. It's going on 5 more minutes. Talk about some of our positions as the market trying to rebound just a little bit.
Yeah, we just went through VWAP.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I've covered pretty much the majority of all those trades. I think we talked about that. Sometimes when you get those extended moves, especially heading into 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Going there as Neil enjoys the last.
And I'll try to eat the fruit.
Breakfast. Oops, I don't want to show this. I almost showed the menu. I don't want to give it away. All right, Mexican today. So you would think we talked about Taco Wednesday. We got the Mexican flag over here. And it's, is this Mexican? I don't know. Roasted herb chicken breast. Okay, I'm Mexican, I guess. Garlic, here we go. It's a bowl. That's the thing. I just read that right now. Power bowl base has mini potatoes and quinoa topped with corn salsa, diced cucumbers and tomatoes, shredded greens. So a little bit, I guess that makes sense. And then chopped salad, vinaigrette. So it looks like we're going to get a little bit of a bowl there. I'm down. I love bowls. That's one of my favorites things these days, a little bit of a power bowl. Marissa likes to make those easy. Grill up the chicken, throw it on a little bit of lettuce, put some, we like the chickpeas in there as well.
Yes.
Get a little bit of
great source of protein.
Yeah, that action going on there. And then dressing, very good as well. Shares of NVIDIA I'm hearing popping.
Yeah, so there was a crazy wick up in the market. So I punched, this looks like it's driven by NVIDIA, but I punched out an IBIT, and maybe this is only NVIDIA going. We're going to go to Adara, because NVIDIA just popped $3, showing a lot of strength.
The information reporting that China is planning on letting top AI firms buy limited amounts of NVIDIA H200 chips. So we've heard this story before. The information shares a report on China and NVIDIA chips, and NVIDIA reacts, and then we hear some information suggesting this isn't the case, and it comes back down. Regardless, right now, the market is reacting very, very well to this report from the information suggesting that NVIDIA could be having its H200 chips purchased, again, limited amount purchased by top AI firms within China. If we get more details on how this will be implemented and what the status is with this, I'll let you know.
NVIDIA might want 200s on this. Ooh. That's going to be the high already of the day. 199.87 is the current high of the day. It is pressing pretty strongly. And remember, a few things about NVIDIA. NVIDIA 19 PE, like ridiculously cheap at this point, and it's now bouncing on the 200-period moving average again, because it's already been doing this over and over and over again. It's just buyers down here in the low 190s on NVIDIA. But if you're trading anything to the south side, like it's a bit of a seed change. But like there was a spike up that got into VWAP on SMCI, and then it just kind of, now it's right back under. So I'm not going to change too much here. Holding on to the last 10%. It was looking for that push down to 26.5. Then we'll be down to the last 10%. And that hasn't really changed its tone. What I am going to do based on that news is maybe tighten the stop up just so we can't go red on this. Because obviously the market was looking pretty weak. Yeah, wow. And now see all the strength that's coming into NVIDIA. So is there sympathy over here, a tiny bit in AMD. This is very much NVIDIA showing the strength from what I can see. Though the 200 is going to be a big, big level. I can't seem to really even break the 199 though. Not that there's big size of 199, but that is the second candle in a row on the 3-minute that just failed the third candle in a row that's failed the 199. So this might just be pulling back. Maybe it was actually a reload on SMCI after all. If we don't break 200 on NVIDIA in the next like 30 minutes or so, I think it'll be a reload on some of these chip shorts. Maybe not NVIDIA specifically. U.S. military ready to restart blockade of Iran if ordered to.
You know, obviously it's market moving. We've seen so many back and forths with that oil story. But right now we are finally getting it. And here it is, Joe. I don't know if you're on SpaceX or not there, Joe, but there it is. There's the break. Back down below. We're now $2 in the money on this SpaceX short. We did get stopped out right there. So, you know, we have to talk about that. But we got back in, and there it goes finally. I'm bidding 149 flat. 149.05. Hopefully that will fill. And then we'll see if we get another break of 148.50. I'm out of here. I have bids at 148, 149, 148.25, 147, 146. I think SpaceX goes lower, needless to say, with those bids $3 lower than where we are right now on SpaceX. And on the TQQs, man, that's been a Brendan-like trade there as we've goated out on the TQQs as that goes down into that level as well. The kids are always saying that now. You're the GOAT of something. And, of course, there now they go back and forth. Ronaldo's the GOAT. Messi's the GOAT. I think Mo Salah is the GOAT there.
What about Joker?
Shout out to Egypt. What a great game they played. Sans the last 20 minutes or so. But that's football. That's soccer. That's every single sport, man. I mean, we're Blue Jays fans. We know what that last second looks like when it's not in our favor, unfortunately. They got a good win yesterday. You know, now the funny thing is there are 7 games under 500, but are only 3 games out of a wild card spot. So get your playoff tickets ready. I still feel
don't let us in the playoffs because it's a decent enough rotation.
Vladdy's got to get going. I mean, if he doesn't go, the team doesn't.
He doesn't get healthy.
Yeah. So
no, we have a lot of health issues, and that's a part of sport. No, I was gonna say it's 11 o'clock. I'm just gonna throw this out there. At what point? I know no one cares about tennis. At what point is Djokovic the GOAT over Federer?
Did he beat?
He beat the Canadian guy, which was an upset. The Canadian guy.
What? He was favored?
He's the 3 seed. Our guy was the 3 seed. Joker was the 7.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and he was like 5 hours, 5th set, all that nonsense, back and forth. So yeah, but
it's funny. Like neither one of us really knows that guy's name, though, right?
It's Ali Yassim.
Yeah,
It's Aliassime Auger.
Yeah, he has the.
I always pronounce it wrong. Yeah.
He has the hyphen.
I know the Aliassime, but the kid is going to win a major at some point.
If he's ranked third.
He's really talented, man.
Yeah,
he's the best men's.
He's French, right?
He's the best Canadian men's tennis player, in my opinion, ever, and he will go down as that.
Milos Raonic.
He's going to be better than Milos. Maybe.
I hope so.
I think he will be.
I hope so.
But it is 11. I want to thank Joe for filling in while I was stuck on the transit in. So on the train, which didn't end. Well, eventually it got going.
Yeah, you got.
But we'll be back at 2. We're going to enjoy our. What are we calling that bowl?
Mexican bowl.
The Mexican bowl.
Mexican chicken bowl.
We'll see how it is. I don't know. I think
Why not?
It sounded tasty. And we're going to send you guys over to the midday.
Bye-bye,
Sharif
SpaceX.
is in Sky Q. Joe is probably in
Enjoy the bowl.
SpaceX. We'll enjoy
Get
yourself.
it, Joe. Get in SpaceX, Joe.
Go get him.
Talking about goats, let's talk about the market's goat, Jensen Huang, over with NVIDIA. I have some more details here from this report from the information suggesting that China will be allowing top AI firms to potentially purchase a limited number of NVIDIA H200 chips. Apparently, these firms include Alibaba, ByteDance, and DeepSeek, and the total limit for the chips they could be allowed to purchase will be under 200,000 total. So that's under 200,000 total NVIDIA H200 chips that could be purchased by, again, the likes of Alibaba, ByteDance, and DeepSeek. Just a little bit more clarity on that NVIDIA catalyst as we send you over to Joe and Sharif for what should be a smashing midday.
Smashing midday. I follow you, DeepSeek, baby. Boom. Greetings and salutations. Beautiful people, welcome to the Midday Show. This is your boy, Joey Options. I am Sharif. And Joey, we're already